Right. So I was saying that 5 reasons why we decided to put this conversation together. And for us, is even, the people who get to listen in later on. We said that we want to invest in young female leaders, right? I already spoke about the challenges that young female leaders, especially those of African descent, go through, the stereotypes that they have to navigate, the patriarchy in the society that they have to navigate. And one of the things that I really love about the people who are joining us today. Uh, right. Okay. Sorry about that. About that. Yes. So I was saying that. Oh, hi, Maureen, joining from Kenya. Looking forward to an impactful session. Thank you, Maureen. Eve, please introduce yourself while we wait for other people to join us. So I was talking about the reason why we push Leads Unfiltered together. So we said we want to invest in young female leaders by sharing practical insights required for elevating our self-concept in order to thrive in our science sphere of influence. Now, the second reason why we said we're going to put this conversation together is to highlight the conscious and subconscious mindset limitations that prevents female leaders from thriving as it relates to impact, influence, and legacy leadership. And for me, I believe that all the women we're going to, have this conversation with today who will be sharing from their journey and from their experience. They are all authentic, right? I know that we have authentic women in the room who are going to really share, unfiltered, not trying to, sugarcoat things, but really share from their experience so that we on our journey can learn from them, and another thing for me is that we've put together, speakers with varied experiences from different locations. So one of our speakers is based in Morocco, another one, two of our other speakers are based in the UK, and then we have a speaker based in Nigeria. Maureen, probably next time we have this conversation, you'll be representing Kenya. We also said we will share insight that will empower the modern day female leader navigating multiple roles and responsibilities. For us as women, we have to, there are different roles that we have to navigate. There are different responsibilities that we have. We have, as a wife, as a mom, and the thousand and one other people, right, who look up to us, right, who expect us to show up in a certain kind of way. So we hope to share insights, especially, for instance, I'm looking forward to hearing from Dr. Sharon, who's a lecturer, who's a wife, a mom, just hearing how she's able to navigate her different responsibilities and her roles. The other thing is that we're going to speak on how we can leverage technology in order to accelerate our leadership competence and impact as female leaders. And of course, how can we lead based on our unique wiring as women? Right. So these are some of the things that we'll be, speaking about. There are questions already that have come from, the registration form. So we're also going to be looking at the questions. We'll pull some of the questions. And if you have questions as we go along, please feel free, to share those questions. You can send it to either the DM so that we can just compile it. A member of my team can compile it while we're having this conversation. All right. So are you ready to begin? Okay. Hi, Eve. Eve says, my name is Eve, joining from Kenya as well. Super excited for this session and looking forward to learning and growing. Awesome. So please introduce yourself. If you haven't introduced yourself, tell us where you're joining us from and tell us what your expectations are for this conversation. Right. So I'm just going to mute. Yes. Please, when you're joining, stay muted so that you don't distract us. We expect more people. I'm still waiting for, some members of my team. I guess they're having network issues. So, of course, this conversation is put together by Lead for Good Africa. Lead for Good Africa is a leadership development and skill empowerment social enterprise. And really what we're doing is that we're empowering individuals on the African continent with the skill sets, the mindset, and the tool set to be able to fulfill their potential and increase their productivity and contribute to our collective prosperity as a continent. I really believe that Africa's greatest resource lies in her people. And so all of the programs, every single thing we're doing at Lead for Good Africa has been designed to invest and improve, human capital development so that each one of us, we can rise to fulfill our potential and then recognize the areas that we can contribute, right, to our collective prosperity as a continent. So everything that we're doing at Lead for Good Africa, our skill empowerment center that we're currently setting up, our advocacy programs, just like this one that you are on here today, our training programs. So we have training programs for corporate organizations and individuals. We also have like coaching sessions for individuals as well with the curriculum, right? So every single thing, every moving part of the organization is set up to empower individuals to rise, and fulfill their own potential. So we're hosting this conversation today really also to invest in female leaders, like I've said, not to overflog it, but it's important that I keep repeating why we're here today and to really make progress, right, as a continent. And thank you again, Rani, for joining. Thank you, Dr. Sharon, for coming on board, and for every other person that we're expecting. Hopefully, looking forward to connecting with more people. I see another. Okay, so my name is Oluchi Pretty Ugune. Pretty, should I call you Lady Pretty? I'm excited for this program. I'm looking forward to learning and building I will add a word for you there, my capacity as a woman leader. We're excited to have you here as well. And we look forward to learning together. I hope that you have your notepad. I hope that you're going to take notes as we begin this conversation. So I'm going to go right ahead to introduce our speakers. Like, no, we're not wasting time at all. We're just going right ahead into the conversation. And first off, for today, I'm going to introduce Dr. Sharon. Yeah, drum rolls, drum rolls, drum rolls. She's our first speaker, and she's going to be taking us. Let me just read just a little bit about her. She's deeply committed to promoting sustainable development and social justice outside of academia. She's a lecturer in the UK. She strives to address pressing global challenges such as poverty, inequality, and environmental degradation. She advocates for solutions that prioritize the well-being of present and future generations. Her multifaceted role as a mother, an academia, and an SDG advocate reflects her unwavering dedication to creating a more equitable, sustainable, and inclusive world for all. She believes anyone with the right guidance and opportunity can beat whatever goals they have set for themselves and set a new record. That's the spirit, right? That's the spirit of this conversation, that we can set goals for ourselves, we can attain our goals, and we can achieve our goals. So I hope that Dr. Sharon is here. I hope that she's here and she's ready to take over. So Dr. Sharon, we're ready for your presentation. The floor is yours. Thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to an insightful session with you. I'm now going to hand. Oh my goodness, look at you. Welcome. Okay, so I'm just going to shift. All right.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I have looked forward to this day since I got the invitation, and it has been interesting, looking and seeing what you're doing, and I must really commend you. I was recently informed that you're an all-female team, which is super, super, super impressive. Like I didn't think that we could. I knew it was possible, but I didn't think that it was something that was already, going on, that we could have a completely female team and no issues. I'm so happy and I'm so proud of what you're doing. So I have already been introduced. I don't want to take a lot of your time talking about myself. I can really relate to what what Pretty has, said earlier, because I look up to women who have verifiable track record. I don't like to hear, she just appeared. Like I want to see that she did this, and this was how she grew, and became or got to wherever it is that that lady is. And that is a huge source of inspiration for me. So, the mindset and your thought process in organizing this workshop is just everything that relates to me. So in order not to take too much of your time, will you permit me? Do I have the right to share my screen? Yes. So I'm going to be sharing my screen quickly. Can you see my screen? Just thumbs up if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see
Yes.
it. Just
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you. So let me move a few icons around so that I can see. Yeah. Um, so I am really interested in this woman. She is my greatest motivation. She is my mentor from a distance. I look up to her and I feel like I can be the next Iwela, the next Professor Iwela. So I'm from the academia, so we like to call everyone with their academic titles, you know. So I feel like I can be she. I feel like I can be she. There's an echo from the background. I don't know from where, but so this is the reason why I always look up to this woman, and that is why she is the first person on my slide. So this is just to introduce what I'm going to talk about. And if you are from Nigeria, you would remember, I'm sure you'll be aware of the new MD or CEO of the Zenith Bank, who I have her picture here. And I went through her resume and I went through all the things that she has done, and I was just blown away. If you haven't read about this woman, please spend a few minutes to read about this woman and how far she has come. I was also told that she's a mother of 6. So whoever is telling you it's not possible definitely is lying to you. So I have another woman here who needs no introduction. And for starters, I'm going to say that today's world will tell you what a woman can be and what a woman should not be. And then it doesn't help that, you know, the woman has been saddled with the responsibility of sustaining the human race. By that, I mean that the woman is the one who is responsible for reproducing other humans. So it makes it so much, it just makes it so much difficult in a way, because she wants to do other things. She has her own goals, and then society and culture will tell her that you have to do this, you have to get married at this age, you have to have this number of children, you have to do this, you have to do that, and just so many things that, you know, are the responsibility, the sole responsibility of a woman. And unfortunately, if she doesn't do it, no one will do it. Nobody, no one else can produce another human but a woman. So you can see that in the woman, there is so much power, there is so much responsibility, and sometimes she easily just forgets herself and just gets carried away. So into the modern woman in leadership today is equally struggling with a lot of responsibilities. You would see that you would eventually navigate the aspect of reproducing other humans. Let's say you have, for example, then you have your own dreams, you have your own goals, you have your own career, and then you want to lead. I understand that not everyone is called to be a leader and not everyone feels that they can lead, but I can tell you for free that every woman has the capacity to lead. If you are born a woman, you have a capacity to lead, because by extension, nature has made you a leader. If you are producing other humans, what is leadership? If you can produce other humans, what is leadership, for crying out loud? So I'm telling you that you have it in you, you can lead wherever you find yourself, whatever sphere you're in, whatever it is that you need to do, you can take up leadership and just run it as if you were born to do it. So the modern woman, the modern leader today must have the adaptability to adjust to different situations and different challenges, because it's going to come. I work in a male-dominated workspace. My background, my academic background is in construction. So you agree with me that it is male-dominated. So you must be willing to multitask, and you must have empathy, because in the workspace, especially in construction, you would see that the man just believes that you are not supposed to be there. When I tell men that I'm from construction, they look at me and say, oh, as if I've done something that is impossible. And I know that there are tons of women who are in this same, you know, sphere of influence that as I am. You know, they look at me and say, you didn't do something admin, you didn't do something, not to say anything. I don't mean any disrespect to those who are in administration or who studied those courses that we perceive are less stressful, because coming from the academia, I can tell you that every course that you decide to study would come with its own challenges. So it's expected that you shut up or you just watch the men, or in some construction workspaces, they even relegate the women to do the administrative part of the job because they feel like you shouldn't be on site. So the modern female leader must be willing to adapt to various challenges. She must have the capacity to multitask, and she must be empathetic, not just towards her colleagues, but to other women. I need to emphasize this, that when you find a woman in your workspace, she is not competition. She is not your competition. You should work together with her. You will be so amazed at how far both of you can come. How just coming together, teaming up as women to just insist that things have to be done the way that it should be done, and you shouldn't be shoved to the side because of your gender. So challenges faced in balancing multiple roles abound. And because of time, I would just quickly look at these two that I have mentioned. And the first is striking a balance between work, family, and your personal life. Work, family, and your personal life. Everyone has a work, everyone has their family, and everyone has a personal life. But for the woman, balancing this is some kind of a challenge that you need to really zoom in on it and make sure that you're deliberate about it. Another challenge is overcoming societal expectations and biases simply because you are a woman. None of us decided that when we were going to be born, choose a gender, I want to become a woman. None of us decided. We just were born as women, and we have found ourselves in this situation. But then society would tell us that this is what is expected of a woman. You should behave this way. You shouldn't talk this way. You shouldn't dress this way, and all of that. So embracing flexibility and adaptability as a female leader requires that you make room for a lot of things, and the importance of flexibility in managing your different roles will enable you to respond effectively to different challenges that will come to you, because you have the flexibility mindset. You're not rigid, you're not fixated on one thing, and then you insist that it has to be done that way. You must find some space and some room to be flexible. And then flexibility allows for you to, creatively solve problems and become innovative. So when you have that headspace for flexibility as you go about your leadership roles, you would see that when problems come, you are not, focused on saying it has to be done this way, or it shouldn't be done that way. You have to be creative in problem solving. So some of the strategies that you can use to, some of the strategies that you can use in adapting to a changing work environment is that you embrace the growth mindset. You must embrace the growth mindset. When you get there, simply because you're a woman, they will expect you to stay where you are and not make any progress. That you should be okay. They'll tell you, why do you need a promotion? Why are you seeking to get more? Are you not a woman? They begin to tell you all of these things, but you must have a growth mindset, and you must seek opportunities for continuous learning and development. It's not enough. It is never enough. Unfortunately, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it is not enough. What you think you have is never enough for the woman. Every woman has to fight for her rights to be in the room. So one of the ways that you can do this is by effective time management. Effective time management. Now, this involves the prioritization method of balancing work, family, and your personal life. Preeti mentioned technology earlier, and I cannot overemphasize this, because technology should be your slave. Forgive my choice of words. Technology should be a tool. Technology should be one of the best things you can ever have in your arsenal. Use technologies, research technologies that will help you in balancing your work, family, and personal life. I'll give you a short story. We understand the importance of having smartphones, and my kids recently had to have smartphones. I was worried at first because I know the impact of having smartphones at that very young age. what I did was I realized that there was something called Google Family app from Google. And I just downloaded it, learned how to use it, and now I control their screen time. They make trouble. I use it for discipline. I use it for literally everything because they have gotten into that cycle of having phones. And so I just use it to get good behavior. So you should set your goals and you should make sure your goals are what? They are smart. I'm not going to go into what smart means. If you want to learn about smart, use Google. Google is your best friend. Google has so much potential that you'll be so amazed if you just spend a few minutes of your time to understand how Google works. You will be so surprised about the things that you can get from Google. Then some of the techniques for optimizing time, your time is first you utilize productivity apps and tools. That is up to you to research. I'm being mindful of my time. I know that as a teacher, we don't know when to stop talking unless we hear the bell has gone or we start seeing our students looking at their time watch, their wristwatches. So you need to implement time blocking strategies to allocate time for different tasks. I recently did that because I am a kind of social media person. So I set a time limit on some of these apps. And when it's time for me to go to bed, I will get a reminder that your bedtime or downtime starts soon, or your bedtime is in a few minutes. So I begin to round up. And as soon as it's time, I just know that I need to get my beauty sleep. Yes. So every woman needs her beauty sleep. So you need to be very mindful of that. Now, building a support network is very important for female leaders. Like I said, you would be so surprised that when you get to work, that's why I was super impressed when I learned that the She Leads is an entirely female crew. I was so impressed, like I said earlier. So as women, when we work together, we must have a support network. We must build a support network for ourselves. No one is going to do it for you. Nobody is going to do it for you. You would see that just quickly, recently there's a lot of stories in the media about paternity fraud. And I'm telling you, you should mark my words, in the next couple of years, we'll get to a stage where the government will enact in Nigeria or in those countries, will enact policies that would require paternity tests to be done to a child. Because these men, they have come together to build or set up, structures in place that would support whatever it is that they want to do. Why is it that birth control is saddled? The responsibility of birth control is majorly saddled on the woman. Why? Because these men have gone ahead of us. So when you meet as women, we should not fight one another. We should come together to work together as a team and as a group, and to ensure that we advocate for our rights, advocate for our goals, advocate for all the things that we need to do. So my son just interrupted me. My apologies. He just woke up from sleep and he wants to give me a hug, and I just did my hand, go away, go away. So my apologies for that. So you must offer a sense of belonging and community to one another. When a woman is new in the workplace, welcome her, and welcome her from the bottom of your heart. Let her know and let her see how sincere you are, because as women, I'm sure we all have stories of or know someone who has been battered by the activities of another woman. I don't know why we feel that another woman is a competition instead of an ally. So some strategies for cultivating mentorship. We should have strategies in place for cultivating mentorship and networking opportunities. First is that you should actively seek mentors or sponsors. Like I said, Professor Iwela is my mentor from far. I look up to her. I haven't met her, but I know I'm going to meet her one day, and I'm probably going to be better than she is. I'm sure she would be so excited, and she would be happy to have other women, or know that other women are looking up to her and they really want to become like her. So we should participate in professional organizations and networking events. I know that this sounds kind of mechanical or too formal, but I'm telling you that these are things that have worked for me. These are things that I have done personally, and I'm very sure it has worked for me, and I'm sure if you try it, it's going to work for you. So there's this thing called imposter syndrome that a lot of women face. A lot of women struggle with imposter syndrome. Because of time, I'm not going to discuss what imposter syndrome is. But you must be aware that imposter syndrome is common, it's normal, especially from we women that are from, African backgrounds, because there's a lot of shut up, shut up, shut up. You don't belong here. Why are you doing this? Because you're a woman and all of that. So eventually you would see that you have put in the work, you have done all that is required of you. But for some reason that I still cannot explain, when it's time for you to show up, imposter syndrome comes and tells you, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? And you begin to second guess yourself. You need to be aware of imposter syndrome. And then you must challenge every negative talk and any limiting belief. It is all from your mind. It's all in your head. It doesn't exist. It's all in your head. And if it's in your head, it means it's in your control. So some of the techniques that you can use for building confidence and improving your self-belief is practicing self-affirmations and positive visualizations. I told you at first, I mentioned that Professor Iwela is my mentor. I look up to her. She's a role model for me. And if you have your, mind map or whatever visualization tool that it is that you use, put the pictures of these people or whatever it is that you want to achieve, let it be on that map. And always when you see it, it just puts you, puts you in focus. It puts you in focus. So you need to also practice self-affirmations. When those self-limiting thoughts come to your mind, remind yourself of where you're headed. Remind yourself of what the goal is, and you just, focus on it and just keep going and never stop. You must celebrate your successes no matter how small. Buy yourself a gift. I know, spoil yourself. Sometimes just spoil yourself. When I finished my PhD, I told myself if I can submit my PhD in 2 years, I would get myself a new iPhone and a MacBook. And that was exactly what happened. I was able to submit my first draft. It wasn't the complete draft, but I finished submitted my first draft in 2 years. I knew the amount of work that I put into that. And when I did that, I just went ahead and I splurged on myself. So there's nothing wrong in you spoiling yourself every now and then. If you have set a goal and you have achieved it, spoil yourself. Celebrate your successes. Don't wait for someone else to celebrate you. Always celebrate yourself. Be the first person to celebrate yourself. Forget whatever it is that they say about you or say, why you're being, no, you know the amount of work that you have put into it. Celebrate yourself all the time. Assertive communication skills is one of the things that every woman must learn how to, implement. The importance of assertive communication in leadership can never be overemphasized. Number one is that to do this, you need to establish clear expectations and boundaries when you talk to people. You need to, in the work space, and you must foster mutual respect and understanding while you communicate. Some tips for effectively expressing needs and boundaries include using I statements to communicate your thoughts and feelings. Don't be saying, I'm asking on behalf of a friend. No, use it, you're being assertive. They will replace assertive as stubborn. I remember when I started working in the academia, one of the assignments I got to do was with a professor because I insisted that things have to be done the right way. He said, Sharon, you're stubborn. Sharon, you're stubborn. So they replaced the word assertive with stubborn. So when you hear the word, if I got a penny for every time I heard stubborn attached to my name, I'll probably never be broke again in my life. So you must be very assertive, and then you must engage active listening to understand other people's perspective before responding. I can't overemphasize this. When people talk to you, listen actively. Listen to what they say before you respond. Don't listen to respond. Listen to understand, and then you go ahead to respond, so you don't end up making a fool of yourself. You must embrace self-care as a female leader. You must embrace self-care. Self-care is what you define it. When people ask me about self-care, I tell them it is exactly what you call it. It is not what someone else says it is. So engaging in self-care prevents burnout and promotes overall health and happiness. So whatever you call self-care, if it's just going to window shop, if that is self-care for you, go and window shop. If it is surfing the internet, you should do that, but be mindful that as you surf the internet, you absorb a lot of things that you need to be mindful of and you need to remind yourself about. So self-care also enhances your productivity and effectiveness as a leader because your body is rested. For some people, self-care is just shutting out the noise and enjoying a good sleep. That can also be self-care. It is not really about traveling or, being on Instagram and all of that. So you need to be aware of what self-care means to you. Strategies for integrating self-care practices into your busy schedule is, first, you prioritize activities that rejuvenate and replenish energy, and then you schedule regular breaks and downtime. So you must also create resilience, and the role of resilience in navigating challenges allows leaders to bounce back from setbacks and adversity, because as a leader, you would struggle with a lot of things. You win at some and you lose at some, but losing doesn't mean that you just shut it down and say, I'm no longer interested. That is the role of resilience. It also builds mental toughness and perseverance. And some of the techniques for building resilience in the face of adversity include developing a growth mindset focused on learning and development. You learn from what happened and you tell yourself that I can do this, and you just go ahead and do it again. But you should also remember that when you have tried and tried and tried, you should probably reassess it and see what it is that you're getting wrong. Why is it that you're getting it wrong? You must also practice mindfulness and stress management techniques. These are things that are subjective, they're unique to individuals. You need to be aware of it. Fostering work-life integration. As women, like we said, we juggle a lot of things, and you have to recognize that personal and your professional lives are interconnected. There's nothing you can do about it. If you want to be a leader, these two things are really interconnected, and you must strive for harmony and fulfillment in all aspects of your life. There's some of the strategies that you can imbibe is setting boundaries and realistic expectations, then flexibility in scheduling and prioritizing tasks based on changing needs. You should learn what comes before what is more important than the other, what can wait and what can be re-looked at. So in conclusion, we have seen flexibility and adaptability are essential for navigating multiple roles, and building a strong support network and practicing self-care is crucial for your well-being. And assertive communication and resilience are valuable leadership skills. Now, in conclusion, I want to say that a woman can have it all, but you must define what all means to you. You should not use the definition of society. If society says all is you must have a husband, you must have children, you must have a career, you must define what all means to you. What is your own all? And if you are sure you're certain that this is what all means to me, then you can have it. Thank you for the time. I hope I'm still within my time limits. Fingers crossed. Thank you, Pretty. Over to you.
Right, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely within your time. And please, can we make Dr. Sharon really feel appreciated? That was just amazing. Precise. I feel like we just finished like a master class. It was amazing. Thank you so much, Dr. Sharon. I hope that you can still spend some time with us for us to take a few questions while we hand over to Rani, because there were questions, for instance, on that imposter syndrome. So it'd be good to sort of share more about it and, answer some more questions from the people who are here. So thank you so much.
Thank
Rani,
you. Yeah.
I'm going to introduce you quickly. Yes, Rani is just, anyway, let me not start gushing, but Rani is a visionary and transformational marketing leader. She's a multi-channel marketing specialist with over 15 years of experience in B2C and B2B realms. She has navigated diverse industries, including music, charities, and manufacturing. She has honed her expertise during 5 years with global manufacturers across 9 locations, gaining invaluable insights into international marketing. She's driven by a genuine desire to make the world a better place, and she weaves purpose into every marketing endeavor. I know that there's some marketers in the house, so I'm really looking forward to them benefiting from all that you're going to share. at today's session. And her approach ensures adaptability, like, Dr. Sharon has spoken about, and responsiveness to ever-changing consumer behavior and industry trends. Rani is really authentic, I can tell you, and I'm really looking forward to hearing all that she has to share with us, as we navigate leadership as female leaders and also the challenges of today's world. So can I hand over to you, Rani, now? Can I
Yeah.
hand over to you? Yay! Make
Thank
her
you
feel
so much.
welcome.
Oh, it's such a
Yeah.
joy to be here.
And one more thing, ladies, please, if you have questions, so that after the session we can take questions and really dive more into the conversation, please just share the questions on the chat box. All right. So over to you, Rani.
Thank you. Well, yeah, it's a joy to be with all of you this morning. I'm just going to share my screen, and hopefully you can see my presentation. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Fabulous. Great. So I'm talking on the topic of just highlighting conscious and subconscious mindsets, the limitations, those things that stop us from becoming the fullness of who we're supposed to be. And Dr. Sharon's already touched on some of the things. So there's a real affirmation of what I'm about to say in terms of some of the topics that we've talked about. And basically, how do these things stop us from having impact and influence and building leadership? So it's always good and helpful to start with a little bit about background. So my cultural roots are I'm Indian, but my family heritage is from Kenya and from Uganda, and I'm British born. The reason I'm sharing this is because I think it's important to understand our identity. So I came from a fairly liberal, traditional Hindu family originally. I'm a Christian now. But I came from a broken family, and it took me a long time to find myself. I lost my mother when I was 16, and I raised my 5-year-old sister along with my brother. And I know that's, a real sense of leadership, even within family. Often we think about leadership in terms of business, but leadership can start very much at home. So whether you're a mother, whether you're a big sister, with your friend, leadership can start very much at home. My business background is, we've already kindly just, had an understanding. I studied marketing and media, and my background has remained in marketing, but I'm moving slowly out of that into new adventures. So I worked for a global manufacturer for 5 years across 9 locations. Whether it was, doing global branding, whether it was doing events or trade shows, just a whole host of marketing elements, print, online, offline. And those things are really important because it's about how do we bring those things together. Some of the challenges that I've faced, I would say, is typical of a woman. I would say I've been blessed as well. I've been blessed in terms of the leadership that I've had. So it's good to have leaders who invest in you, but also then you can invest in other people. But some of the challenges that we face, I'm going to kind of talk through in a moment. And just really, this is really about knowing and walking in your purpose. Each one of us has a unique design. And I think it's really important that we understand that as we go through this presentation. So just a question for you. You don't have to put it in the chat, just something for yourself, just 30 seconds. What do you believe about yourself today? And how do you see yourself? If you're being really honest with yourself, how do you see yourself today? Would you say that you're strong? Would you say that you feel vulnerable? Would you say you feel naive? Would you say that you feel like you take on the world? Like, what do you believe about yourself today? So just 30 seconds. What do you believe about yourself today? And how do you see yourself? Just have a thought to yourself. Often, barriers and limitations start in our childhood. They're not just things that happen to us along the way. They are things that we can experience in our childhood, and they can stop us from really reaching other people. It can help us, they can stop us from reaching other elements of our lives because we feel that we're in a container and we've had things spoken into our lives which are not always true. Dr. Sharon has already touched on this, but self-doubt and imposter syndrome, to define what it means, it's described as a feeling of inadequacy. Even though you've been successful, you kind of feel like I'm not enough. And so self-doubt creeps in. We undermine ourselves, we isolate ourselves with sensations of fraudulence, so we can feel like I'm a fake. even though you may be well educated, even though you've had a really prolonged career, or even if you're new and starting out, you may feel like, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't feel qualified. And I still feel like that sometimes, but there are things that you can do to help yourself to have those lies broken off of yourself. Often ethnic minorities, women of color, GMH, global majority heritage, we can feel like we are not enough. And some of that can stem from history, but it can also stem from other elements of our lives. So it's important that you have others speak life into you. Dr. Sharon's already talked about a network, but it's also important to have good friends around you, people who will tell you the truth, people who are not critiques but truth tellers. You can tell the truth without critiquing somebody to the point where it becomes a stronghold over somebody's life. Journal and reflect. I find this so invaluable to do. When you journal, you're able to process your thoughts. If you're anything like me, I'm an external processor. So often I can journal, but I need to speak things out with people. So when you are speaking things out with people, make sure it's a safe space. Sometimes people just think you like to talk, but often it's just that's just how you work. That's just how you operate. When you speak things out, you come up with solutions. I'm a creative, so that is very natural for me to want to express and to want to share how what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, and then out of that, there'll be a nugget of wisdom from somebody say, "Oh, have you thought about this?" And often it has always been really helpful. I think it's important that you know your worth. Often as women, I'm going to come on to some of this a bit later, but we are told from a very young age what we can and can't do, what is a woman's role, what is a man's role. And I think that can really have an impact on what we believe about ourselves. We have to know our worth. We have to understand that our design is unique. There is not another person like you out there in the world. You are just you. There is no other person. And then you have to understand where the lies come from. So were they rooted in childhood? Were they rooted by a negative comment that somebody said to you? And often we will focus on a negative comment versus positive comments that come to us. We can have 10 positive comments, but we'll hold on to that one negative comment somebody said. And that then becomes something that we think about all the time. And if we're doing things, we can go, I can't do that because somebody said I can't do that, even though there's been 10 other people that have said you can do it. So we have to uproot the lies that are embedded in us, and we have to choose. It's a choice, I believe, sometimes of what we want to believe and what we don't want to believe. Fear of failure. My goodness, how many times I have thought in my roles that I just, what if I fail? But actually, there's another question. Do you fear success? Because success can bring other pros, but it can also bring cons. When we think about failure, we think about what we've done wrong, but actually success can also make us feel fearful. And the reason I say that is because when we are doing well, we can be in our own little bubbles and we can think, oh my goodness, what if I've become arrogant or this or that? That's why it's important to self-reflect. You must be self-aware of who you are. You must self-examine. And the reason for that is when you self-examine, you're able to then talk to yourself and say, okay, where are the areas that I'm not doing well in? Where are the areas that I'm doing well in, but perhaps I've allowed pride to creep in, or I've allowed greed or arrogance or power to creep in. So we have to be careful of those things as well. We can be scared of losing our reputation. If you've built up a business, if you've built up a reputation, we can be afraid that perhaps if we do something wrong or if we get something wrong, then we're going to lose our reputation. Never, ever build a business on reputation. Build it on character. Build it on who you are. Always have good character. We can fear getting things wrong. We should never fear getting things wrong. We're going to make mistakes. That's human nature. That's part of life. We do have to be aware of who we work with, who we do negotiate with, who we do business with, because their character says a lot about them, but also it can impact what you're trying to do as well. We can be afraid of financial loss. Finances are a tough thing sometimes. Not everybody has financial backing or funding. And often when we are women who have come from, South Asian or, an African or Black background or Caribbean background, we may think that people don't believe in us, but actually, if you find the right community of people, you will find that funding, you will find what you need. For me personally, my faith has played a massive role in what I believe about myself, but also that I know that I'm not in control. I can really trust that there is a greater plan ahead of me. Yes, I have to put the work in. Yes, I have to co-labor with God, but I don't have to be afraid of what the future holds. There are elements of our lives that we can build ourselves, but I think we can build this small, and God wants us to build, a much bigger mansion in terms of the plans that He has. And I know that not everyone here may have a faith, or we may have a different faith, but this is my own journey. Over the last 20 months, we've talked about me being in marketing, but I actually left my role July 2022. I went in this global role for 5 years, had good money. I was traveling different places around the world, meeting different people, influencing different people, building a brand for this organization that I was working for. And it was great. But there comes a point when actually I felt uncomfortable, and I was like, this is not what I want to do for the rest of my life. I know that as a leader, I want to have an impact on women. I want to have an impact around our world. We want to build better communities. We want to build better education systems. We want to build better healthcare. We want to build better governments, for goodness sake. We only have to look at what is going on around us to realize that actually much of what happens is not for the benefit of the people of our nations, but for the benefit of power and richness. And so I want to encourage you to step out in faith. Maybe you're scared of taking risks because, what if I fail? What if I lose money? What if my reputation is ruined? Nothing is unredeemable. Everything is redeemable. And if you have humility and you walk with people who surround you, you'll be fine. There are often times when we're told we're not good enough. Why did you do that? That's not good enough. Or why did you do that? That's not good enough. You're not educated enough. You're not pretty enough. You're not this enough. You're not that enough. Basically, what I would say is this can impact how you perform. And those lies that are rooted in us need to be uprooted. It stops you from taking risks. It can give us self-paralysis. I can't do this. I'm not capable of doing this. And it can stop you from pursuing opportunities. So kind of where does some of that stuff stem from? It stems from societal structures and stereotypes. We modify our behavior based on what environment we're in, and based on where we are, based on who we're with. We can, modify our character or how we are. We're not wearing a mask, essentially, which is what I was showing in imposter syndrome. We're not wearing a mask trying to be something that we're not. There can be cultural norms and religious norms that can stop us from really flourishing in who we are. And, there are wonderful things, but anything that tries to bind you or stop you from becoming the fullness of who you are is not something to follow. Often we're told women are not built to be strong like men. Not true. Women are very resilient. Dr. Sharon was talking about being a mother, and she's an educator. She's somebody who empowers people. Women are emotionally super resilient. And whilst we think that we should be physically resilient, actually, emotional and mental resilience helps our physical resilience as well. We have capabilities far beyond men. Dr. Sharon was talking about only women can birth babies, of course. So for that, we have to remember that the identity that we've been given is super important. We could often be told we're career minded, and that can have family implications. Well, if you don't have a family by this point, then you're not going to be able to have children, or you're not going to be able to do that. And we're told about biological clocks, and those things are true. However, they are not the be all and end all of life. Marriage is good. Marriage is great. I'm a single woman. And, do I have a desire to be married? Yes, but it doesn't mean that's the only path and the only route in life. Professional choices, sometimes we're told you need, particularly in the Indian culture, it was like become a doctor, become a lawyer, become an accountant. Anything that basically, is down a particular route is driven by family or spouse, is driven by decisions of what you should be doing. And you might be a creative like me. You might be somebody who wants to, go and change nations. You might want to work in the government, in civil services. You might want to start your own business. Whatever that looks like, it's not wrong. Because as long as the motivation of the heart is right, that's the most important thing. If you're doing it just to gain success, power, and money, they're the wrong motivations, and it won't stand. But if you're doing it to build something greater for a greater good, to change our communities, to change our nations, then those motivations are very, very different. So what I would say is, Find out who you are. What do you like? What do you enjoy? What are the things that make you passionate? What's your holy discontent is what I would say. You know, what arises righteous anger in you? Where is that problem in the world that you want to solve? And you can't do it on your own. You have to always do it in a group of people. You might be the leader, but it always comes in community and in a network of people. You know, find out who you are. What are your passions? What kind of things do you enjoy? Do you enjoy music? Do you enjoy arts and creativity? Do you enjoy logical solving problems? Like, what are the things that really trigger you? What are the things that impact you? What are the things that really you know, arise in you? Because those are the things that have been put inside of you. Though that is what makes you uniquely you. You don't have to become somebody else. You can be influenced by leaders. You can be you know, inspired by leaders, but you're not to become somebody else. You're meant to become who you are. Lack of role models and mentorship. You know, sometimes when we see a lack of female leaders, and Dr. Sharon was talking about being in the construction industry and having more, you know, a male-dominated industry, actually you can see that as a challenge, or you can see it as a place of flourishing and leadership. You know, you can really drive change in those places. Lack of representation, you know, people who don't look like us, people who don't think like us, can often be a challenge as well. And fear, you know, of being the first. I used to sit and I used to remember saying, I don't see anybody that looks like me doing what I'm doing. And I couldn't find anybody. And then the realization came that maybe I need to be that person. So never be afraid to be the first. You know, maybe you're the one who is meant to, you know, drive a new path. Maybe you're the one who's meant to speak up in a situation that arises. You know, this can be business. It can be in whatever situation that might be. Leadership isn't confined to just business. And I know here we're talking about leadership in terms of, you know, businesses, but actually leadership is much wider than that. So it's important to have mentors in your field. You know, have somebody that you can work with, you can bounce ideas off, that you can openly say, actually, I've got this thing, but I'm not really sure how to solve it. Can you help me? We often don't want to ask people questions because we don't want to look stupid. It's okay to not know everything. In fact, it's probably better to not know everything because it keeps you teachable and it allows you to keep learning. Have different mentors, you know, have business mentors, have spiritual mentors, because there are different elements of your life that require different things. You won't be able to get everything from one person. And actually, I don't think it's healthy to have everything from one individual in your life. You know, make sure that these voices aren't conflicting. So whose voice you listen to, that really matters. And ultimately, there's a voice inside of you. For me, it's what I would say the Holy Spirit. It's the voice that, you know, helps me to think about what I need to do, what I need to think about, what are the things I need to process. If you've got conflicting voices where one is saying one thing, the other thing, you will become confused. And so it's really important to understand the voice that you have within yourself as well, because there is clarity that comes from that. And if you find that your mentors are conflicting, then maybe that needs to change. And so one of the things I put here is know your own voice and own it. You know, you are uniquely created. And I keep saying this because it's really important. You're not called to be like anyone on this call. You're uniquely called to be you. And, you know, set and measure goals. You know, Dr. Sharon's already touched on this. You know, be specific about what you want to, you know, what you want to achieve. Make sure it's measurable. Make sure it's achievable. You know, don't set yourself targets that you're going to fail on, because and then you're going to continue to allow the imposter syndrome to keep making you feel like you're failing. Make it relevant, you know, for what you're doing. So if your goal is to, you know, start your own business, what are the steps that you need to take to get to that point? Because it doesn't happen just overnight, and you're going to be overwhelmed with too much information. And make it time bound. Make sure that you have a set time of when you want to launch, because I think that's really important. Another thing that can stop us is limited access to networks and resources. You know, we can have regional limitations. Maybe, you know, you're in a specific area that is not really thriving. There's not much happening. You may need to move. I'm not saying that's the case for everybody, but you may need to move. You know, resources such as finances, you know, IT or education. Maybe there are things that, you know, stop us in our environment. You know, where do you need to be? Who do you need to be surrounded by? We can be so comfortable in our areas that we don't often think about moving or, you know, or reaching out. I mean, we're in an online world now, so you don't have to move, but you can tap into different areas and networks. And also, you know, if you're new to what you do, you may not know where to start. So this is why having a mentor is really important. So diverse networks, Don't just be around people that look like you, sound like you, think like you. Tap into other cultures, tap into other people, tap into other industries, and just see how different things work. Be discerning. Not every opportunity is a good opportunity. Sometimes it can look good, it can feel good, but it may not be good for you. Be cultured, learn about multiple ways of working. That's really important. And always be willing to be teachable, and don't be the smartest person in the room. That's really important. Something this is, I would say really important. And I talked about childhood. For some of you, this may or may not be true, but shame, trauma, and self-blame can really have an impact on us. Allowing what has been done to us to dictate our future, what's been said to us impacting our self-belief. Some people have gone through rape, abuse, and negligence, and those things do have an impact on us. That can really shatter our confidence. But I want to encourage anybody that if you have been through that, people have been through that, it's really important to have healing. It's really important to have healing in a safe place to share and overcome. Do not share this with everybody, but share it with people. There's something that someone said to me that's really stuck with me. It's up to you what's private between you and God. It's up to you what's personal between you and friends that you trust, and it's up to you what you go public with. You don't always have to share everything. But I think that's really important. And the thing I would say is own your story. It's unique. Nobody's story matches your story. Your voice, your story is unique to you. So don't look to other people. I know people went through a Kim Kardashian phase going, oh my goodness, I want to look like Kim Kardashian, and everything starts to look like that. But in reality, you're called to be who you are. You don't need to look like anybody else. Your story is unique. Your fingerprint, your identity is unique. And your story will help other people bring freedom to others. When I'm talking about business, all these things are integrated. Nothing is separate. Who you are should be the same person that you're at home, that you're in business, that you're out and about. And I know sometimes people feel like they have to filter themselves, or, there are. And so a final thought. Oh, am I okay to carry on? I'm almost done.
Yes, please. I think the
Sorry.
AI, I don't know what's going on, but go ahead. Yeah.
A final thought, it all comes down to your identity. Know who you are. Who you believe you are is who you will become. Set boundaries. Keep peace with every person. Always walk in humility. This is really important. Never allow yourself to go into a point of arrogance. Humility doesn't mean lowering yourself. It just means being humble. Travel the road less traveled, enter through the narrow gate. There's a wide gate out there that everyone wants to follow the same path in the same way, but maybe you're called to do something different for your nation and for where you are. Always be teachable and willing to learn. Empower others and open the doors for other people after you. And leadership always starts with serving. It's not serving is about giving of yourself in a way that allows others to serve one another. It's always about serving. So on reflection, I just want you to write down somewhere, how will you see yourself going forward? Just write that down. And just really finally, thank you for listening. And I hope that you walk in your freedom and your identity. It's your God-given right. And remember that everything you'll ever need is already inside of you. You just have to discover it. You were born with a purpose, for a purpose. We're not here by mistake. And you're uniquely designed to make a difference. There is no other you. So yeah, thank you for having me. And thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. That was really, really good. I love that quote that you added at the end. Who you believe you are is who you will become. I think that's so good. That's so good. Thank you so much. Can we make Rani feel appreciated for sharing with us and also sharing her from her personal experience? Please make her feel appreciated. And this is a time where you send questions. So we're about to have a conversation with Rani and Dr. Sharon. So this is the point where you send your questions. You have to send your questions. I know that there were questions that were sent before now, right? But send your questions so that we can really have this conversation openly, and also they can share freely. So like I told you when we started, it's an intimate group. And I believe that some of these sessions where we have people were free to share, we can really share and go deep deeply into some of the issues that prevent us from fully attaining our potential. So while I wait for your questions, the first question I'm going to ask, based on the question, Dr. Sharon, please join this conversation for the next 15, 20 minutes thereabouts, right? Yes, and I'm just going to add you, but thank you so much. My goodness. Yes. Very raw and authentic, because I think that that's it for me. I love to have authentic conversations. If you know me, you already know that I'm as real as, I'm not trying to pretend or anything like that. And that's why, we brought women who we can connect with. They're not so far off that, oh, you can't touch them, you can't relate with their stories. They're women like us, right? And they're each on their own journey, of becoming more. So the first question I'm going to ask both of you is and that question came, what are the mindsets that you've embraced on your journey that have helped you become, who you are today? What are some of the mindset that you've embraced on your own unique journey that have helped you become who you are today? I know that Dr. Sharon spoke about the growth mindset, right? And that one is really key for everyone. But I'll still ask, and share how you develop this mindset, and worked with it to become who you are today. So I'm going to ask Dr. Sharon to go first, and then afterwards, Rani, please go ahead.
Personally, I would say that what the mindset that really helped me was the growth mindset. I told myself that it doesn't matter the industry that I find myself, wherever I find myself, I will get to the top of it. So when I got into academia, I started researching how do I get to the top of my career? And it required me having a PhD. And I said, then PhD it is. And I just kept going and going. It was hard because there was a time I had to travel for my PhD in 2019, leaving my kids who were 8 and 6 at the time. I'm Nigerian born, leaving my kids behind. I got all the backlash that I got that came to me, and I just wore it like part of the scars. I just felt that's the price that I had to pay. And I just said, you know what, I need to go do this if I really want to get to the top of where I'm going to. So that has been my mindset. And honestly, it's not easy, but it hasn't been easy rather, but if you put in the work, eventually it pays off, maybe not in the time that you expect it to pay off. So sometimes you will put in the work and you expect that because I have done everything that I need to do, it's going to happen. It may take a little bit, it may take a while, but eventually it will pay off. I also realized that because of the different things I had to do, I failed a lot. At some point, Rani was talking about failure, embracing failure. Now I'm no longer scared of trying something and failing at it. I tell myself that it's part of the process. So I fail. I could really, really resonate. That resonated with me when Rani spoke about failure. It was something that I said, failure is part of the process. We're quick to shame people. Like when I got the job that I'm doing right now, and I left for the UK from Nigeria, which is kind of rare, to get my kind of job from Nigeria and move to Scotland, to teach. After a while, you get into a new environment, you have to adjust, you have to settle in. I think immigrants are probably the strongest human beings that exist, because you detach yourself from your psychosocial supports and all of that, and you go try to implant yourself into. What I want to tell you is that a lot of people back in Nigeria were waiting to hear that I had crashed, I had failed, and I told myself, when I was leaving, I told myself that it doesn't even matter if I fail at it. And I told myself, if it's not working, I'll just come back home. It will be one of the things that I'll say I tried and it didn't work. So that also is my mindset. I'm not scared of trying something new. Like Rani said something, she said that you may be in the industry and you think it's right for you, but over time you realize, I'm no longer comfortable. I am that person. I can be enjoying it today, and eventually, if it doesn't serve me, I would just make a switch. So I will share some things a colleague shared with me. He told me, he said, Sharon, I am at a stage in my life where my loyalties are first to me. I'm first professionally, I'm first loyal to myself. So if I'm in a space that does not allow me grow professionally, I will move to the next space that would enable me do that. So these three things have really pushed me to keep going and keep going. Sometimes I have to, I just cry in my bed. It's part of the process. Sometimes I don't see the light. It's part of the process. Rani said she kept emphasizing faith, and I love that so well because I am a woman of faith. So it doesn't matter what faith you practice, but you must have faith in something. The Holy Spirit, this is not a church meeting, so my apologies, but the Holy Spirit will always tell you, and that is, what I always pray for each time I meditate, each time I pray. I ask the Holy Spirit, where will you have me go? Will you still have me stay here? Will you want me to move on? So I don't, because I'm in that space, I don't want to make wrong decisions anymore. But even if I take a wrong decision, it's part of the process. So let me stop talking. Thank you. I hope I answered your question.
So good, so good. That was so good. Thank you for just being really honest. Rani, over to you.
I'm amen.
I know, right? Amen.
I know Dr. Sharon just said that it's not a church meeting, but God is outside of church. For me, I came from a different faith, and a lot of trauma, a lot of things that happened in my life, and so I think having lost my mum at a young age, I grew up very quickly, and that in itself can put limitations on you, because that was my life. That was, I'm 16 years old, raising a 5-year-old, was a big thing. I was still a child myself, really. But what has really helped me is that I'm actually a bit opposite to Dr. Sharon, in the sense that I've never really been ambitious in terms of career. That's never been my I think all I ever really wanted to do was be married and have children. And actually, I've been single for 16 years, so that's not but the point I would say is, for me, is that my faith is what really has grounded me. It is the pivotal foundation of my life, and that is where my mindset comes from. It's knowing that there is a bigger plan, that I'm not in control, actually, and whilst I have my part to play, I don't have to worry. When I explained that I finished my role in July 2022, and I really felt God was saying, there's a new ministry, there's new things to do, there's a new path, and nothing happened. In between, my dad died from cancer. I lost family members and friends over the year, and it's resilience. What I would say is a resilient mindset. You have to keep going, because until I'm laying in my coffin, I still have to keep going. That's why I kept saying that each of us has a purpose. We're uniquely designed for something. We might be part of something, or we might be the person leading something that people become a part of that walk. So for me, I would say resilience is probably the key thing, but it's all comes down to a firm foundation in my faith, because without that, I don't know where I would be, is the honest answer.
So good, so good. So one, growth mindset, having resilience as well. And then I love that quote, quote. Yeah, I put it as a quote: be loyal to yourself first. I put it as a quote that Dr. Sharon shared. And everyone has shared about their faith being an anchor, and then connecting to their inner core, because that's so important for us as leaders, just staying connected. Otherwise, we just find ourselves, going where everyone is going. And like Ronnie said, not every good opportunity that comes is actually our opportunity. And so staying connected to your inner core helps you recognize the opportunity that ensures that you are loyal to yourself first, right? See what I did there? But I think that you guys are just, you ladies, I beg your pardon, you just shared really, really profoundly. I think the second question that we're going to ask, which someone, spoke about, was overcoming comparison, right? And how they feel like comparison it's preventing them from leveraging opportunities in their life and attaining their potential. How can they overcome, that comparison? Looking at, for instance, social media, seeing how someone appears to be doing well, and then staying stuck, not being able to make any move because of the seeming progress that other people are making? How are you able to navigate, that whole process or that journey of comparison and competition? I'm going to ask both of you to share your thoughts. So Dr. Sharon first and then Rani over next.
So I think social media has done a lot of good. I am a social media person. I love social media, but social media is a double-edged sword that cuts you in one end and then heals you on the other end. So it is what you make of it. So when you compare yourself, you're doing that because you don't know who you are. The moment you realize that this is who I am, then it means we have unique fingerprints. So why do you think you need to compare yourself to someone else? Now, I am not ignorant of the fact that you look up to people. I have said that I'm looking up to Professor Iweala, right? I'm not comparing myself to Professor Iweala. When I started my presentation, I said, I love to hear unique, authentic stories of women and what they have done, their process. If they can be vulnerable enough to share it with me, I will really appreciate it, to tell me that I did this and I feel, because it tells me that they're really humans. Because what we see on social media is everyone's best foot forward. But you don't know the number of times they have tried. They don't show, like, I don't cry and, record me crying when I'm trying to get my kids to do something and they're not doing it. I don't record that and say, oh, I'm frustrated. I don't do that. I only show you, the glitz and glamour. So what you need to know is that everyone has their own story. Everyone is on a unique journey, a journey that is as unique as their fingerprint. And you need to be focused on where you're headed. Sometimes it can be, here and there, because you're not sure where you're even going. Sometimes you're not really sure where you're going. You just stumble upon it. I suffered from a lack of having mentors early in my career or early in my life. I didn't really have people that I look up to because I grew up this timid and quiet child, some of the things that we have to deal with coming from African, backgrounds and families. So I would struggle to even make a sentence in front of people. But the moment I realized the person that I am, I realized the daughter of who I am, there was no stopping me. You can see what other people are doing. Instead of comparing, let it challenge you. Let it show you that this is possible and you can do it too. So instead of comparing yourself, be challenged that, oh, someone has done it and they don't have two heads. Let me do it. I will also win at it. So while you're admiring what they're doing, check the depth of your soul. From where are you watching, or what is pushing you to look at them? Is it out of your ego, most of the time it is from within you. When you begin to make those unhealthy comparisons, I am hardly intimidated, because I know everyone is beautiful in their own way. Everyone is, is successful in their own way. Everyone is struggling in their own way. We don't really talk about some of the things that we have to put up with. We don't come up to talk about them. But everyone you see, as cute or as beautiful as whatever, they have struggles that they don't talk about. So when you compare yourself, compare the challenges too. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rani. Over to you, please.
Yeah, just so good. Comparison is a thief. It steals your joy. Dr. Sharon just talked about our unique fingerprint and identity, and that's why I was saying you have to know who you are. You have to know your identity. You are. I'm a South Asian woman born in the UK for a reason. This is where I was meant to be. And if you've moved, or you've moved to a different nation, your identity is still who you are. It doesn't change based on the land that you move to. I think I'm a marketeer, and I can tell you now that a lot of Instagram is marketing. People will always give you the best parts of their life. And actually, I think what people are really craving is authentic relationships, authenticity. Who are you? Like, what is the authentic version of yourself? I think when you're authentic, you're more real. People are gonna listen to you more, because you're able to just be honest about where you are. I think when we try and give people the highlights of our life, you know, I've traveled here, I've been doing this, I've been doing that, you know, at some point it's going to come crashing down, you know, and that's not to be rude or to be horrible, but don't compare your life to another person, because I was saying before, your story is unique. It's what makes you you. It's what people want to know. They want to know, who are you? You know, what is the thing that's inside of you? And I think leadership, you know, integrity is so important. Not everybody that you see online has integrity. You know, you only have to, I mean, not to give kind of really raw examples, but there was a young South Asian woman in the UK who was an influencer on YouTube. And basically, you know, things erupted around her mother having an affair, and they ended up murdering 2 young men. So don't, you know, you can look at people's lifestyles. They may look nice, they may appear nice, but don't be deceived by looks. Don't be deceived by, you know, what you see. Always go for character. I think that's really important. So you know, build on yourself, build on your foundations, build on who you are as a person. As Dr. Sharon said, she's not often intimidated because she knows who she is. She knows her identity. She knows her purpose, and she knows that, you know, she's uniquely created, and that's true for everybody. So don't let comparison steal your joy, because as soon as you start comparing yourself, you will do what a lot of people do. You know, that person's got a really nice car, I need to go and get a nice car. That person's got a really nice house, and you get yourself into debt. You get yourself into depression and anxiety, and actually just be freed from all of that. You know, walk in your unique purpose is what I would say. So don't let comparison be a joy stealer.
That's so good. Thank you. I think the one thing that has been so emphasized is, you know, being secure in our identity, owning our stories, owning our voices, you know, and not allowing comparison, you know, steal our own unique purpose and journey. I want you to share a story as your last, the last remark you leave. Share a story with us that we can resonate with, an experience that you went through, that you grew from, which was difficult initially, right? But you were able to grow from that experience, and that experience has made you who you are today. A story, you know, stories leave a mark on us, right? So I want you to share a story. That's the last word that you're going to share, and then we'll hand over, you know, to Audrey for her own presentation. So Dr. Sharon, a story, a challenge that you went through at a time in your life. I know you shared different stories, but one that you are leaving with us as a closing remark, and something that we can hold on to as we move on today.
I wish Rani went before me so I could, you know, think about.
Okay, so I think, okay, should we ask Rani?
That's
Rani?
fine. That's okay.
Okay, all right.
I have quite a lot of stories that I can share, but quickly I would share the one that's recently happened. I would say, you know, last year. Like I have mentioned, I just recently moved to the UK to take up this job, and at some point, I really, you know, imposter syndrome setting. I began to ask myself, what am I doing here? Who brought me here? Am I okay? Why did I leave everything that I had to just come down here? You know, when I was leaving, I told myself that you know, sometimes opportunities come, and when they go, you don't maximize it, and it's gone, it's gone. It's probably not going to come back again. And I didn't want to miss that opportunity. So I was like, let me just go see what's on the other side for me. My mental health was a mess for a long time, for months. I would lock myself in my room and I would not go out. I did not want to see the sun. It didn't help that Glasgow has a crazy weather that's, you know, is either rainy or it's cloudy, or it's, when we see the sun, we literally celebrate now. So what I'm trying to say is that when changes happen to you, it's not going to be easy. Changes are not pleasant. Changes are not something that we look forward to, but do not be afraid of change. When it comes, it will shape you, it will change you, it would reform you, it will make you into this new person that you never knew existed within you. So that period was a dark period in my life, because if I didn't travel with my kids, I have no idea what would have happened to me. So my kids were really a huge, part of my support. And my family back home were really supportive. They were really, really, really supportive. If they don't hear from me in a day, everyone is going to be calling, are you okay? How are you coping? And all of that. So that was a really dark period in my life. I don't know what you're going through. It may not be as complicated, or it may be worse than what I've said. Things are not perfect at the moment, but I'm now hopeful. My faith is renewed. My joy is restored. And I am looking forward to just brighter days, better days. I am no longer in that space or in that, area where I was struggling with almost every single thing. I could no longer see the joy and the hope that I was looking forward to when I was leaving Nigeria. It just disappeared. So remember that, forgive me, I'm going back to scriptures again. Anytime the devil pops up, he comes to steal, to kill, and to destroy. So anything that steals your joy is coming from the devil. When he steals, when your joy is stolen, you will be depressed, you will be sick, you'll probably not sleep. When you don't sleep, your blood pressure would be a mess. That is the devil stealing from you. The killing is that you get inflicted with some ailments. You don't know where it's coming from. You become sick. You start getting on medications, and you're trying to, restore your health. That is the devil, by just stealing your joy, by just letting him take away joy from you. And your joy shouldn't be dependent on the things that are happening or on things going well around you. Your joy should come from inside, irrespective of the things that are happening around you. Be joyful always. Be happy always. Happiness is what you make up for yourself. It's not what someone does for you. I appreciate that, people in our lives can contribute, but whether they're there or not, you must find the courage to pick yourself up wherever it is you have found yourself, and just keep going. And just keep going. Everyone has a story. I'm sure if we had to give everyone an opportunity to tell us one thing that they have survived, we'll probably spend the rest of today still talking. If you allow me, I will keep talking, because I have tons of stories. I've not even given you I'm summarizing, because there's just a lot of things. I lost friendships, I lost some support system, but I knew that when God is taking you to a new chapter in your life, not everyone is going to the new chapter with you. Not everyone is going to be in that new space with you. And you have to learn to, it's like a butterfly when it's changing form before it gets to the different stages. When it's changing form, it has to build new, survival techniques for the next phase of their life. So before you blossom, you're going to have different things that will happen to you. Don't get discouraged. Don't just give up. Try another way, and you'll get to where you're headed. Thank you.
Thank you. That's so good. That's so good. Rani,
So
thank you
good.
so much, Doc. So good. So good. Rani, over to you.
Just very quickly. So I would say, don't let what's happened to you dictate your destiny. Very, very briefly, I've touched on my mum. When my mum died, my foundations were rocked. Raising a 5-year-old at 16, I was doing 2 part-time jobs, studying, cooking, cleaning, looking after, my sister. And whilst we had my grandparents, they lived in London, which is about an hour away. They weren't there all the time. So I remember catching a bus at 7:15 in the morning. I would go to school, I would come back, I would cook, I would clean. I didn't really have time to do homework and, looking after my sister. Now, that was like 24 years ago now, a very long time ago. But in the midst of that, I was in an abusive relationship. And I was very young. I shouldn't have never been in that relationship, but it broke me. It broke my confidence. It broke who I was. And it has taken me years to get back to I would even say, not get back to it, actually, to flourish in where I am. But that's why my faith is so foundational, because it was that pivotal moment at 27, 28 when I encountered the Holy Spirit that I had a real transformation moment in my life. And then the last kind of 10 years, I've gone through inner healing and I've worked through trauma and experiences that have happened, because what we don't realize is that when we don't deal with our pain and we just try and shove it down, eventually it stops you from becoming the fullness of who you're meant to be. And you know, I know we said we're not going to get biblical, but there's a verse in John 10:10 which says, you know, that Jesus came to give us life and to give it and have it. Jesus came to give us life and to have it abundantly. You know, that means there is complete freedom, complete abundance. And of course, we know that not everyone here shares the same faith. But what I would say is that faith, forgiveness, forgive people who've hurt you, because that frees you as well. It lifts a load. And just remembering that you are not what's happened to you. There is much greater to come. So everything is redeemable. Everything that was meant to harm you will be used for good.
Thank you. My goodness, you are not what has happened to you. Thank you so much, Rani, and thank you, Dr. Sharon. I know that Dr. Sharon has a training that she has to run off for, but I want to take one feedback from the audience before we then, go into Audrey's presentation. And I'm going to call Maureen to take a feedback from you. And it would just be nice for Dr. Sharon and Rani to hear all that you've gotten from the session. So what are some of your learnings, right? From all that has been spoken about, the presentation has been made. Maureen, I'm calling you. I don't know why, but I'm calling you to share your reflections from what has been shared. Some of the insights that have been shared that you're taking with you and what you're going to be implementing after today's session. Maureen, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Sharon and Rani, for the insightful session. And I have attended a lot of women's forums, but this has been exceptional for me. I really feel like I'm ready to take on, the next journey. My takeout was that failure is not the opposite of success. It's actually part of success. I personally have really struggled with the fear of failure. And after failing a lot in many things, in relationships, in career, in business, so that has really curtailed my growth. But now just understanding that, it is possible to fail and still be successful. I can actually pick myself up. I liked the quote that who you believe you are is who you will become. That just, it struck me. And so what I'm going to do moving forward is to work on my identity, uproot those issues that, hold me back. I think Rani shared that. And yeah, oh my God, just so much to unpack. Everything is redeemable. Everything is redeemable. Do not let what has happened to you dictate your destiny. So much, guys. I'm overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed with everything we have learned today. So thank you so much, Dr. Sharon. Thank you so much, Rani, and may God dearly and immensely bless you. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, PM.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Maureen. I wanted you both to sort of just hear, because it's good to hear feedback, based on what you've shared. So thank you again so much, for spending some time with us. Ronnie, if you're able to stay till the end, that's also fine. I know that Dr. Sharon has to run. So thank you, Dr. Sharon. Of course, we'll be connecting again, because what I got is what I expected. What I ordered is what I got. Oh my goodness, we're so excited. Thank you for spending time
Thank you
with us
so much
today,
for
and
having me.
enjoy the rest of your day. We'll
You
speak
too.
again.
You too. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you, Rani. Yeah.
All right. All right. Thank you, Rani. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to take some time to introduce Audrey. We're supposed to have Asme. I don't know if Asme is on here, right? But I don't see her. I see I don't know if Asme is here. If Asme is here, she should let us know. She was supposed to go first, but Audrey will just have you next, sharing with us how we can improve our capacity to lead. So I'm going to go ahead and read Audrey's profile. Are you ladies ready, or do you feel like you had quite a lot already. So Audrey is a social development and sustainability professional with nonprofits and development programs across Nigeria and Africa. Her work in the social development sector focuses on closing the digital gap through strategic digital skilling programs, education, volunteer management, youth unemployment skilling and reskilling for employment, grant making, managing and building nonprofit capacity. She currently works with Microsoft as a philanthropist lead, covering Nigeria and Ghana, and she drives digital skilling across Nigeria to build a tech-enabled workforce and talent pool in Nigeria for 21st century workplace. She holds a master's degree in psychology, managerial psychology, and a bachelor's in library and information science. Audrey has, in fact, she enjoys facilitating and public speaking. She's also an award recipient of 2023 Top 50 Women in Management in Africa. So I hope that you're ready. She loves cycling. That one I can testify to that she actually does love cycling. And every time I see her, pictures of her cycling along the streets of Lagos, I'm just like, oh, go, Audrey, go, Audrey, go. So Audrey, we're about to hand over to you. We're excited to have you for your presentation. And we look forward to learning from you. Hopefully, Asmay joins us. I hope that she's all right, where she is. So ladies, can we welcome Audrey as she takes the virtual stage to begin her presentation for today's session? Oh, you have Microsoft, repping Microsoft.
I have to.
Hey.
It's the day job. Hi, everyone.
Right.
Good morning. Oh my God, I was just listening to the other women and I'm wondering, oh, have they not finished saying everything in my slide? But hey, I'll try to make it as distinctly unique as possible. Thank you very much, Chinonso, for the great introduction and the opportunity to be here today to share and also to learn from other women here. So it is a privilege. I truly enjoy speaking because in the process, you learn a lot through speaking, and you don't only learn a lot from learning, you learn from speaking as well. And I'll dive into that into my slides. So let me start off by sharing my slides. Please confirm you can see my slides.
Yes, we can.
Awesome, great. So I will be speaking on practical ways for leveraging technology to accelerate your leadership competence and impact as female leaders. This topic is one of the well-constructed topics I've ever spoken on. Well done, Chinonso. And it took me a while to really reflect on it and to find out how best can I do that. And I found myself changing my slides over and over again. And I was like, okay, this is not so much difficult because this is something everybody already knows and have access to. It's just really how. And I think the word there of this long topic is practical ways. And I will kick off with that. So I'm going to put a bit of stories and around, different pointers I have here and kind of bring it to reality because the word here I'm working with is practical. And one of the things you could do as, working your way into being a leader is you cannot work without data. And when I mean data, it's not entirely in the technical terms that we are talking about it in the tech sector. Information basically is what data is, right? It's now when it is stored on your cloud, on your system, on your phone, and is well organized, it now becomes actual data, right? And then when you organize it to use it, that's what you now call your data analysis, right? So it depends on how. So for instance, I can imagine people who registered for this event, those are data that have been collected, but how would they use it based on looking at it to say, oh, what is the age brackets of the different women that are here? What are the different professions of these women that are attending this event? And that data now begin to make sense. Of those people who registered, how many of them are online? How many of them will watch the videos afterwards? Those are the ways you can use to use data. But what does it mean by, data-driven leadership? It means that for every decision that you're making, for everything you do, you are backing it up with a fact, with something that people cannot deny. that is informing you. It gives you an opportunity to make informed decision. And when you do that, it means you're not just talking things from the sky. And I want to be very particular about this. Wherever you are, especially in a country like Nigeria, or will I say, or the world per se, where everybody just cooks up different things. And I think recently I saw on CNN where there's a research doctor in one of the well-known educational institution who have been collecting pictures and basically doing copy and paste of different people's research and putting it in his own research and releasing it as his own. So, and for the person, I really commend the person that pointed that out, because it means that person really understands how to interpret data, read those kind of heavy, long documents to really see and compare them based on the research areas or topics, and to compare what this research, when this research has been done and what it's supposed to address. And it was so amazing that even the doctor copied, allegedly copied images, not just the numbers or the statistics. He also copied images, and it was something around cancer. And this is a research that actually should inform the medical sector on how to design medications, or the medications that are in the market, how are they addressing cancer? The medications in the market actually addressing it? And is it being treated? Is it being prevented in the right way? That is how powerful data is. It's just beyond just connecting. It's more of how do you use and misuse it. So when you are using data as somebody who wants to get into leadership or who is in leadership, it is important that by the time you are speaking, all you need to say is reference where that information is coming from. And the second point, analyzing performance metrics and market trends for strategic planning. What does this mean? It just means doing research before you actually go on certain things. So you want to do a presentation, you want to offer a solution to a particular issue or a project. Where are you getting the information that this is what your organization or the task you need to do should be done? You should be your team or your bosses should be able to be convinced by the information you have put together and well documented, accurately presenting it, speaking to them in a manner of confidence, because you have done the work of gathering this information and then putting it together, projecting and forecasting where they should go and should not go. Now, on technology is now part of our life, is in everything that we do. And that is something I really want us to understand. Technology is not, nobody creates, I was listening to a podcast recently between on a Trevor Noah's podcast, and he was speaking to a founder of a tech organization, and he was saying, for all the tech people he has actually interviewed, nobody wakes up saying, I'm creating technology to cause evil or to do bad. And that's one thing I need you to understand. And I will go into a different story, personal story about that. So what I want to say is, whatever anybody says about any form of social media, use it positively. When God designed us, he didn't say, I'm designing Audrey or Chinonso, go and scatter the world. Go and trump on other women. Go and live a selfish life. That is not why he created us. That is not why he gave us wisdom. That is not why he blessed us with the different gifts that we have. It's to do good. Knowing that, yes, there will be evil at the end of the day for those who will not want to do good, but it means that good will always trample evil. That is a fact. So any platform you decide to use, your preference, use it positively, because there are people who have sold businesses on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter or X at this moment. It's just really how positively are you doing it? Now, one of the ways I would recommend is share your knowledge. It doesn't matter wherever you are. That is something I realized earlier in my career. You don't need to be an ED, MD, head of department, or the leader of the pack before you know that you have acquired knowledge. Everybody learns every day. If you're truly learning from your experience, you have something to share to make the journey a lot easier for another woman or another person. Mentor those coming behind you. Reach out, put your hand behind you. Respond to DMs professionally. There are some people, they're very terrible when it comes to social media, and they just feel, oh, it's social media, so I don't need to curtsy, I don't need to greet, or whatever it is. Those things, personally, somebody like me, it ticks me off, really. Because what I believe is that social media has created so much access that people don't understand boundary or don't understand how to respect people anymore. For the fact that you're not meeting somebody in person, it doesn't mean that the person does not deserve, the right to be identified as a person respectfully. Then say what you do, not what you can't. What do I mean by that? When somebody has reached out to you on any platform and, oh, I would like you to do this, I would like you to do that, the first thing you should not do is don't be negative, right? Even if it's something you cannot offer or the person is asking you for something you can't give, say what it is you can give, your boundaries, and then move on. And if the person is insisting, then you say, oh, the only thing I can do is this. What am I trying to tell you here? Try to take away negative words and responses from yourself. Because when you can't do that, the only thing that person remembers is, oh, I spoke to this lady and she said she can't. And she said she can't. It should be that she was only able or she only knows that she could do this, but that is not exactly what I was asking for. Taking away negativity out of it so that if that's the only time the person comes in contact with you, let it be that you actually did offer what you could do. Share your journey. Your knowledge is different from your journey. Your knowledge is what you know, your expertise, what you really truly know, and people have validated that you know it. Share that so that people can learn from it. Your journey, how did you get to where you are? It is very important because in sharing that, it validates that you are at a point where you need to now accelerate. You now need to go further. You now need to go to the next level. You're not stuck on, oh, the award I won last year or the recognition I got this. Because if you, by the time you keep telling yourself or telling your journey or sharing your journey, you will not realize that this story is too old. I need to create new stories. I need to move forward, right? So that's one of the things. While you are blessing others and inspiring others, you are also accelerating and lifting yourself up. Highlight lessons learned in hindsight. What does this mean? If you imagine when you're talking about yourself or stories or you're gisting or you're just trying to give, entertain people, you find yourself talking, and this is very human, of things based on how you understand what had happened in the present. You're not speaking of how you understood it then. That is what it means in hindsight. So it means that you're applying wisdom and knowledge from the lessons of an experience that happened in the past. And while you're telling the story, you're also adding it to make sure that, oh, this is are the lessons learned. And now, what do I mean by that? Sometimes when we want to talk about our past, and even if it's negative and it has taught us a positive lesson, we kind of amplify the negative so much that you forget the lessons that have been learned from that experience. So for instance, oh, I worked in the organization I worked for, there's an employer I worked for. It was a very terrible experience, terrible boss. In fact, I wouldn't recommend anybody to work there. What you should be saying in the other end is, and this is with technology, please keep that in mind, because when you're commenting on posts, you're telling stories, you're documenting, it is there for life. So make sure it is positive. Now, when you're telling that story, it should be, oh, I worked for a very difficult boss, but this is what I learned. I would never work for a boss that is 1, 2, 3, or a company that is 1, 2, 3. Or I would make sure that I'm not going to stay in such a terrible job for this period of time. Or these are the red flags to look out for before you get into a company, because these are the potential risk of what you might experience, which is not a good experience. I hope I'm communicating with you all, please. Okay. Get mentorship. I think this was also mentioned by some of the ladies there. But sometimes we undermine the value of network online because it is unlimited. One of the things I tell ladies when I talk about mentorship is don't always think of your immediate environment. Think far and wide. The world is a global place. With a click, you can meet anybody online. And LinkedIn is one of the best ways to do that. And every time LinkedIn is looking for ways to show paths to people who want to be thought leaders, who want to be leaders, who want to be content creators, who want to be writers. Like, the platform is so easy to use. All you need to be is consistent. But on mentorship, how do you do that? Right? You have to connect with experienced leaders through virtual mentorship programs. And a lot of these mentorship programs these days are virtual. You do onboarding online, you connect online, you connect with email, you do sessions on Zooms or Teams or wherever the platforms are. Those are ways you could use virtual opportunities to accelerate your leadership. And in doing that, it's important to do that. One thing I want to also make you understand about mentorship is you have to find a way. mentors is a very tricky thing to get, right? You could be lucky if you're going through a program and you're matched with somebody, which I think a lot of you need to explore more often. Because once you get a good match, it means that that is a match for life. That is the truth. And then you now have to find a way to say, how can I meet? I have a virtual mentor I was paired with, and till date, we have never met in person, to be honest. But she has taken me through different hurdles in my career path and personally. So that is, please do not underestimate it. And I'm going to dive into how you meet people physically and how you now convert them into a virtual connection where you can now manage with technology. Now, gaining valuable insight and guidance and support for career and advancement. I think that is important. But another thing about mentorship is that it's not always how often you talk and you engage. And sometimes I have some mentees who say, oh, Audrey, I haven't spoken to you in a while. I'm sorry. I feel bad. I should be talking to you often. And I say to them, if there's need for you to talk to me more often, I'm sure you will. But I think you are doing fine already. That's why you are not reaching out as often as you think you should. So sometimes being away from somebody doesn't mean that you are doing badly or that the person cannot mentor you or give you advice. But whenever you knock on that door, once you have established a good mentorship relationship, you can always go back there. It doesn't really end. A good mentorship matching or connection never really ends. But once there's a gap, because there's also a mismatch, please leave it alone. You can't work it out too much because the mentor should be willing to pour into you once you come with your cup. And on the other part of it, with technology, amplify your mentors, celebrate them. Celebrate people that are contributing to you, whether you're talking to them or not. Some of us have virtual mentors. People like Oprah. Oprah is my virtual mentor. I've been watching her shows since she was on television, before she had her own network. I tell people that I know her theme song. And she's a template of many of the things that I do. She is a virtual mentor because I've never met her. I've never spoken to her. The closest I've been to her was being on the same Zoom like this in one of her sessions during COVID. And I was extremely excited, right? Like if I needed to talk to her and she responded to me, that was possible. That is the closest, right? So please, when you're thinking of this thing, think of how can you use technology? And I think this is really interesting topic. Well done, Chinoso, for doing this. Then online learning. The world is a learning place, is a learning field for us. Online learning, what I've come to discover, especially working with Microsoft, because this is exactly what I do now, I've come to realize that it's not as easy as we think it is. It is very, very difficult. But the world and COVID had made it seem like it's very easy. Now, why do I say it's difficult? Because you are learning on your own, and after learning, you have to apply it on your own. Now, but the process of learning and completing and certifying, it is a huge win. Please do not undermine the fact that you can take learnings online and you can complete them and you can get your certification. It is not as easy as many of us think it is. If it's something we can do easily, that's kudos to you. A lot of people struggle with this. So please do not undermine it. You can never do enough online learning. Look for leadership programs that sometimes are fee-based, but they give scholarship. Those ones usually are more packed, really, that can really help you accelerate. Then also developing skills in communication, strategic thinking, and decision-making. Those are other things that it can help you do. So online learning really helps you practice what you call the long life learning. It's not just about, oh, I've gotten a certificate, but it's about for every course that you finish, you are practicing the fact that you can wake up any day and you want to choose to learn about something and you go take a course and you pay for that course. Payment is also very important. Anything you're paying for, it has a little bit extra value that it will give you. Sometimes it can expose you to a network, right, of people who are taking those courses. So pardon me. So please keep that in mind, that online learning is not just online learning. There's some very specific ones that can really, really change your lives. And there are many of them that have attended like that. Now, when I talk of online learning, there's accelerator programs for your businesses. There's leadership programs as well. There's business. There are a lot of programs around women, for women. A lot of them. Please take advantage of it. The process just of going through that learning process, it exposes you to a lot more. Now, digital networking. This is something a lot of people also, will I say, handle carelessly, because it's very, very powerful. Now, I'll give you a trick. There's something I do sometimes. If somebody requests for to connect with me on LinkedIn and I find their profile interesting, I just tell them, let's have a quick, coffee chat. 15 minutes call. I want to learn what you're doing. I want to know about you and the work that you do, where you are. And once you do that, you'll be surprised how very human a lot of us are, no matter how far away or close we are to each other by proximity or time zone. And what this do, you have to build a strong digital presence on social media and professional platform. I just said what the actions I take to ensure that I do digital networking. So it means that that person's profile was informative enough, educative enough, talking about everything that they do or what they represent or what they are offering to their community or the world. And that attracted me to say, I want to do a 15 minutes coffee chat call with you. That is what digital networking can do for you. You have to have you have to present yourself well online. You don't have to tell the whole world everything. And you know, the beauty of women is that we have many sides to ourselves, so nobody can truly know us. Like if you go on my social medias, you'll be so entertained and you will think you know me. But when you meet me in person, you meet a different Audrey. And like the other lady was talking about, sometimes we always post the highlights because those are the things we also want to remember ourselves for. Like my social media is my diary. It's not for anyone really. It's about how I want to change the world and things that I'm concerned about, the things I want to be outspoken about, how things I want to remember, milestones I want to remember. I put it there because I don't want to keep it in my head because I want more. I want to win more. So that's just like my diary, basically. In those days, for those of you who kept a journal, that's what social media is for me. And sometimes I go there just to remind myself, oh, I did this, I did that. I've come a long way. Let's keep going. Expand your network and access to opportunities through online communities. This is highly important, especially when job opportunities or business opportunities come in. It's not a joke. People get jobs and people get opportunities on LinkedIn. But if you're not visible, who will come to you? If you're not talking about the great work you're doing, who would look for you? And these days, before anybody does anything, they check you out first. They go online to check you. So what footprint are you leaving? What digital presence do you have? You don't have to be doing sponsored ad or anything. No. If somebody types your first name and your surname, they should be able to find something about you. Now, another thing I want to also talk about when it comes to technology, do the difficult things. The lady that spoke last, she was talking about, I think taking first steps or doing hard things, something in this line, and I was like, okay, well, already somebody has, broken some topics up for me. So please do difficult things. Do difficult things. If you don't do it, you won't know how far and the strength that you have. And as women, our potential is so much that not all of us really tap into it. And because of the limitation by society, expectation, patriarchy, some of us may never tap into it. But it's until you start doing difficult things that you will understand. Now, be willing to do what you've never done. Because you can only, everything you know now, you started at one point in time without knowing. And some of you have learned by observing, some of you have been taught, some of you have been given the grace to start and fail and start again. And you always forget about how you started. Because you want to be a leader or you're now a leader, you just feel everything has to happen automatically. Part of being a leader is also helping people, replicating yourself. So if somebody is not replicating themselves in you, that's a flag. Then if you are not replicating yourself in somebody else, then that's another flag. Because that is the only way we can uplift ourselves. And that's what the men do. Simply put, that's what they do. So take that first step. Apply for that job. There's a common research that says men who are less qualified will apply for jobs they're not even qualified for, and they will get it. Whereas women want to finish reading all the whole book, take everything. CV is perfect. Cover letter is perfect. The truth is that if the job is yours, it's yours. But apply for that job. And sometimes when women, I share opportunities. Oh, I think you're looking for a job. I saw something that you've been asking for. And you come back to me. Oh, maybe the job is not in Nigeria. Oh, maybe this job is not in this location. Oh, this job is saying 10 years experience or 15 years experience. I'm sorry, if you apply, would they reject the submit button? Just click that thing and send it away. And you'll be surprised that once your document is in that database, somebody might just call you from somewhere. But apart from that, what that does, it builds up your confidence. It builds up. If you're looking for a job, don't wait till you're out of job before you start looking for a job. Start looking for the job and start applying. Get more comfortable with taking interviews in any format. It's important. One of the jobs somebody was asking me, why did I leave one of the jobs I left in the past? And I told the person, I said, from the very first day I started that job, I have been applying for jobs and going for interview. I had a plan. I have somewhere I want to go to. I don't have to wait till everything is bad or when I feel, oh my God, this earning is no longer serving me, or it looks like I'm going to get fired, or this organization has become toxic, and then I have to move. If you have plans for yourself, you should know how long you're going to stay on a job. It's important. Looking for a job is a job in itself. So you have to create time. You have to be mentally in that space so that that energy you're putting into it, it transfers when you have clicked that submit button. It's a mindset when it comes to applying. You don't just apply like you're counting money like a cashier in a bank. No, that's mindless. Put some thoughts into it. Listen to your guts, your heart, and your mind. We women, we like to ask other men, what do you think? What should I? Meanwhile, your mind is already telling you. You can't even swallow. You can't even drink because you know your body, everything in you is telling you. Please do that. Listen to your guts. When you're going online and you're searching, use your mind, your essence as you're navigating on the internet. It's important. It's a tool that has been created by man because of the gift God has given man for our own good. So we have to use it positively. Another thing I want to mention is that we are blessed with intuition. Use it. Don't ignore it. Don't ignore it. Men that are wise have been known to use and make decisions based on their wives or partners' intuition. It is very important. If men understand that, the real men, then you who owns that intuition, what are you waiting for? Remote collaboration. What Chinonso is doing here already is remote collaboration. Bringing people within her network that she feels can add value to this event is what she's doing. She's not taking us out physically, but she's doing it online. She's doing it online. Her planning, everything has been virtual and remotely. That is where you can do that. Now, utilizing video conferencing, project management tools for remote work, these are things that you could use. There are tools that can enable non-tech roles, and there are tech roles that, of course, you use technology. It's important to understand that. What is the difference? Anything you're using, how can I use technology to enhance it? Enhance communication and productivity across distributed team. That is also important. There's a lot of tools you could use. There's Slack, there's Teams, there's a lot of them. There's even WhatsApp and the WhatsApp community. There's a lot you could do. There's something I do for myself, right? For friends that I feel that we have similar interests or things like that. I just create a community. Even before a community came, I created a group and I'll add you there and I start throwing information there until something big can happen. So that's collaboration. I'm testing the people I want to work with. It's important because the vibe online is different from in person and everybody have different strengths. So it's important to know that who are you working with, virtually. Then, of course, effective delivery techniques is very important. Like I mentioned, some of you, when you want something, you go online, hi, good afternoon. Hi, good afternoon, and you stop there. Talk about what you want. Or you've observed something about something, I have looked at your page, it's very educative, informative, I just want to commend you, or I'm looking for this, do you mind connecting me? Speak here like the person is in front of you. It's as simple as that in using tech. Then please, typos is a very sensitive thing to many people. Download Grammarly. There's type test and type check. Please do all that. It's important. Very important, please, when you're doing this, because those things just stay there forever sometimes, right? Then learn to write. Your emails, very important. Storytelling, very important. Storytelling has become a life skill. It's not just content creator or media people now that should be doing it. It has become a life skill as far as I'm concerned, because nobody could tell your story more than you. Captions on social medias, online, please, very short, very succinct. If you want to tell a story, make sure the story makes sense. Is important. Public speaking and presentation, highly important for women. Very, very important. There are courses around this as well that you can take. When I say that, talking online is also different from talking in person. And it's very important to understand how to use those skills. When you're talking on virtually, you have to be very engaging. Very, very engaging, because everyone is looking at your camera. Everybody are trying to take cues from you. People want to not be bored. And your presentation has to be exciting as well. It's very important. Now, when I say presentation, your gesture, how do you move around? How do you take space in a room, right? Those things. But I know there are two different skills even for online, right? But it all depends on your tone, the length of how you speak, the pauses you take, the examples you're giving. It is even more practical virtually because people have divided attention when they're on the virtual online platform as well, when you're doing public speaking. Then, of course, controlled expression. I think it's something I'm very expressive. So this is something that comes to me easily. So my own is I manage my expression. But then For people who don't know how to express themselves, you have to work on that. For me, I have to work on reducing the expression. And then there's empathy. You can extend empathy online, please. Empathy is not just you sitting with somebody or crying with something. The words, how you use them, how you coin them is also very important. Now, I talked about converting, I was going to talk about converting your network online to physical. Now, for you, physical, you have to dress confidently. In your dressing, that also make people understand you, gives a perception. It's very important. Even if you're a casual dresser, how confidently you are also matter. Me, I go both ways. I can be very casual in my dressing. I can be very formal in my dressing. But either way, I try to work as confidently as possible. It's important. People ooze energy and people read energy. It's very important that you know that. Then have your card, your call card or your e-card, have them handy, please. Have them really handy. Be brief when you're engaging with people, whether online or physical. Be very exact for what you want, because there are too many distractions in these days and time. Not a lot of people like long talk anymore. And then ask about them when you're trying to connect with people, whether online or physical. Right? And why I'm saying online or physical, because the difference is not so much, because these are human beings behind your cameras, your phones, your devices. So the human element is not eliminated. The only difference is that you're not seeing facial expression. You're not hearing voices, right? That's the only difference. But the elements are also still there, please. So always use the physical experience to match it into the virtual one. It is highly important. Ask about them. How you doing? How you this? You just spoke about the event. Oh, do you have a material where you got some of this information from? Can I read from them? Oh, I'd love to speak with you sometime. Can I have your contact or connect with you on LinkedIn? Now, if you ask me, I prefer to collect LinkedIn connection than numbers, because LinkedIn, it takes you time to go and know more about them, build a relationship with them, and then by the time you meet them physically, trust me, it's a different experience. And that happened to me recently. Then converting your online to physical network, I'm sure you already know what that is. When the person is speaking physically, or you're in the same event, or you feel the person, you can meet that person, or you meet them by accident, please ensure that you link online and physical together. It is one of the best experience that you can ever have, right? So they empower each other. It's kind of, yin yang in a way. Now, big deal, use artificial intelligence. Now, I want to ask you, for those of you that have been looking at my slide, how many of you have been curious about the images I've been using? Just raise your hands up. Has anyone noticed the images I've been using? Good, I see one hand up. Now, those images are created with AI, basically. And all I've done is put all of you in context to say, hey, what would these women like to see? What will make this presentation more exciting? Explore and use AI. AI is here to stay. There's nothing anybody can do, to be honest. There's nothing anybody can do. But in using AI, understand the principle of responsible AI. And what does that mean to use responsible AI? It means that there are principles that guide you. They have to do no harm. They have to be ethical. They have to be unbiased. So however you want to use AI, because it's garbage in, garbage out, ensure that these principles are there to guide you in everything you're doing. And for any AI tool you want to use, you can also assess them by these principles. It's really important. It is the new notebook and pen. AI is a new notebook and pen. I want you to keep that in mind. So I'm coming to the end of my talk, and I know, okay, it's the end of my talk. So I'll be happy to take questions. Chino, so are there questions for this session, or are we waiting for the end?
Yes. So we'll take questions. Anyone who has questions, we'll take questions. But are you done? Are you done?
Yes, I am done. I am done. I know I have 15 minutes. I must have overdone that, or overshot that, I believe. Do I have more time?
Yes. You can, because our other speaker is not joining us because she has to take her key to the hospital. So we can, we can give you 5 more minutes and then we'll take questions.
Okay. All right. So I would like to also elaborate more on collaborating or using technology, different kind of tools, right? in there. One of the things I think that is also important for me when we want to use technology as a leader is that you always have to work with people. In working with people, it means that you are also putting yourself in the position to be a follower. This is something that a lot of I'm going to stop sharing now. This is something that is not often practiced. Now, what does it mean to be a follower? In as much as you want to be a leader, you cannot be a leader without being a follower, but you can be a follower without being a leader. So there are some people who are good followers, and every leader needs good followers, because those followers are the ones that will tell you, oh, madam, where you are going to is not the right way. I think we should do this. I think they can speak to power. And that's why not everyone needs to necessarily be a leader, to be honest, because you have those people that are behind you that are seeing some of the big pictures, some of the long term, because you could be distracted just being in the forefront as a leader, speaking, advocating, and all that. So those things are very, very, very important. So being a good follower, you have to learn to be a good follower. It means you are not judging, you are not challenging who is in front of you. You are protecting their image, because that is an extension of who you are, you that is following. So it's important. I think you should read more about it. Followership is highly, highly, highly important. And to give a bit of an example in Nigeria, this is why people now say, oh, it's the people's problem. It's not just the leader. It's because we have not been great followers to our leaders. We've not been speaking truth to power. We've not been holding them accountable. We don't remind them for what they said they were going to do before they get into office. And the same thing that comes into our alumni, our girl network, our friendship, our cohorts. It's the same thing. Some of you will say you're followers, you voted for this person, you're supporting this person. When there's something to do, you have disappeared. So being a good follower automatically puts you on a path to being a leader. It's the same thing. Because by the time the leader says, you know what, my time here is done, but I think I know who can fill my shoes. Who will they point to? It's the good follower. It's the person that practices all the principle of good followership. So that is something that is not being taught about a lot, especially when it comes to the context of leadership. Followership is highly, highly important. And that is something I have done so much naturally that when the time for leadership came, sometimes I didn't feel confident enough to lead. Until a point came where I couldn't, it was very obvious that some things I was doing, nobody else could do them anymore. And I had to step in and start making those decisions or taking those roles. And that's how it happens, because for sometimes a lot of things will happen. There's Notre Dame is the Notre Dame University in the US. They recently won their female basketball championship. And they were talking about how the current coach used to be part of the team when she was in school, and then left, came back. I don't know if people are following that story. And her coach was somebody that followed her up. At the time she went, I think she left out of did college football, left, took a break, then came back to the WNBA, and finally was in a team where the coach had to retire. And then she had to take step in, because at a point in time, there was no one else to take that role. It was just her, because she had been a good followership practically in practice and also in assisting the coach. She became an assistant coach. And after a while, the coach retired. And it was just her that was left to go there, because nobody else knew the techniques. And she led her team to championship. I think they've not been to championship maybe 10 or 20 years. That's what followership is about. So this is something I want us to also, and when we talk of followership, now talking about social media, everything is on follow me, join me, and this and that. Think about it in that extent. If you're following somebody, how are you paying attention to the things that they do? How are you paying attention to the stories that they tell? How you are paying attention to who they are connected with? Their connection is your connection. So how do you tap into their connection? Because sometimes when we meet people, it's not them that we need, it's what is in their network. The people in their network, that's what we need. So when it comes to using technology for leadership, it's enormous. There's a lot of things you could do. And if you just really think about it, for every step you want to take, what kind of tool do I need to enable me or to amplify what I'm doing? I bet you somebody has thought about it. You will see 1, 2, 3 of them, and you will eventually even see something that is free version enough and something that you can pay to get more value out of it. So this is the context of, using technology as a leader. It's really, really important. Telling your story is important. Telling it positively is important, because If you read too many negative things, even if there are lessons to be learned, you'll be distracted by negativity and you may not pick the lessons from it. I think that's some of the things that I want us to think about when we're following people and when we're putting content out there or using technology. Positivity and how you narrate positivity in the midst of negativity is important. So I'll stop here for questions.
Honestly, Audrey, I don't think there was any other person like you. When I say what I ordered is what I got, because you hit the nail on the head. Like how I imagined this session is how you delivered it. One of the challenges that women, especially women of African descent, putting in the work to develop their technical skills, it's a challenge. So the examples that you gave about sending a DM, good morning, how are you? And you go away. I get those DMs all the time. And I'm wondering, what are you doing? How are you presenting yourself? How are you introducing yourself? How are you sharing your story, sharing your journey, and how are you leveraging technology? So everything that you spoke on, I think that you've done a fantastic job, of helping us develop our competency as leaders, technical competency. So the first set of speakers spoke about our inner core, but now you've come to tell us about how we can actually develop, the competency that we require to accelerate our progress as leaders. So thank you very much, for putting all of the slides together, the information that you've shared with us today. Ladies, please make Audrey feel welcome and thank her, for sharing with us so powerfully. I'm sure that you've all benefited something, one thing or the other, both for your journey as a leader. One question that has come is, for those who are introverts, right? Because I know that there are a lot of introverts. Those who are introverts who have a challenge with sharing their journey online, right? How can you advise them? What advice do you have for them? When it comes to really sharing their journey and owning their story online, considering that they're introverts.
Yeah. One of the things I do, so this is not just introverts, it's also people who are extremely private, right? There's some people who are naturally private. It's when you say somebody's secretive, that category of people, I've come to realize there is a personality too. So when we say somebody's secretive, it's not a bad thing, right? When somebody is secretive, it doesn't mean it's negative, right? Because there are a lot of words that we use that we have put it in negative bucket, but it's not negative. For instance, smell. Smell can be good or bad. But when you say something is smelling here, somebody like, what is that? It could be good smell. Do you understand? So there's a lot of words that have been so coined in a negative bucket that when you talk about it, it could be secretive people and it could be private people and it could be introvert. Tell other people's story that resonates with you. It's as simple as that. That people can easily, that is why when you see who is very famous at telling stories like that now, who's popular that I think most of you might be following. Is it Yemi Fashion, the HR guy in the sector? He's a HR professional. I don't know if anybody knows him. A lot of people seem to follow him a lot. You can check for him. When he tells his story, particularly on Monday mornings, there's a lot of things that, the stories that people have seen or content people have seen or a picture people have seen, and he tells the story around it. It's not necessarily his story, right? I think Amobi Amechi of Access Bank does the same thing too, but he does a lot about his life. But there's some post where he talks about somebody or a picture or stuff like that. So you can talk about other people's story that are already in the public domain, not the one somebody confiding in you, please. The other people's story, and then put it, especially story that people can go and vet. Remember what I said, positive. Go and get the link. After telling the story, what you learned from it, you can put the link. I got this source from here, or go to this handle from here. It's as simple as that. Give credit where credit is due. But there are a lot of stories that resonate with all of us. And you can put it doesn't have to just be yours, right? Except something that's already in the public, maybe like places you've worked that is on your LinkedIn, that's a different case, or somewhere that you spoke, something that another person can say, oh yeah, that person was there or that person wasn't there. But if you're not that person that shares a lot or want to share a lot, please use other stories that are already in the public domain and then pick out your lessons learned, bullet 1, 2, 3, and you're fine to go. Consistency is the most important thing. Consistency. And if you do a lot of online courses, you see a lot of stories because you get case studies. A lot of free case studies are already in the public domain that they use, and you can go back there and use those things. So that's my recommendation.
Thank you so much. I'm going to just pick on that subject of consistency, because I see people who are doing, they share their story online, but they don't get as much engagement, and they get discouraged and stop sharing their stories, right? Which of course causes them to resign in terms of progress. What would you say to people who share their stories, don't get engagements that they expect? Because that's another thing entirely. What's your advice?
So what I would say for that now is the social media world, or the network platform world, is now designed in a way, the algorithm is built in a way that when you engage or involve somebody else, there is a loop that happens, or there's a ripple effect. So if I like something, for instance, on LinkedIn, it notifies somebody else that somebody on my network has liked somebody's page. So what is recommended is minimum of 5 hashtags, or maybe 3 hashtag. Look for hashtag that really tells you, then tag 1 or 2 persons. For anything, so for instance, if you're using stories that are already in public domain, there must be a name for you to tag. There must be an organization for it. Just tag it. It's important. Even if it's on social media, it's the same thing. Use the right hashtag as well. So these days, you don't even need to think. If you go on Instagram now, they even recommend hashtag for you. So the process, the thinking where you need to break your head around to get some things done on technology is reducing. And I think it's giving us more time to understand who we are and what we want. Because before you sit down, remember those days when you have to be thinking of hashtag, then if you see hashtag, it will be so long. Now hashtags are so short because it has become a trend. It's now easier for you, so that's just what I'll say. Then pick time. What I'll recommend, don't be away from your platform for more than a week, right? At least more than a week. If it's once a week, that's 5 posts a month. And it could be any post. You don't have to create it. And even if you have to, there's AI platform where you just need to put stuff there and you get an image. Maybe I should do that practical for you if you have more time, and to give you an idea of the possibilities of what that could be. So, yeah. Okay, so can you see my page? Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Can everyone see my screen? Okay, so
yes,
I want this to be very practical, right? In the chat, please send me a sentence. Anything that comes to mind. That's what I'm going to use to prompt. Oh, Donald, of course you're welcome here. Oh, we have a man with us. Please send me a chat. Anything, please. Let's be practical. Think of anything. Excelling as a leader, good. Now think of it as an image. You want to create an image with words. Not that this will come out, right? Ideally, but let's be very creative. Let's create something beautiful. Let's create something beautiful. This is how fast technology is going now, or how well you can use AI these days. Anything that comes to mind. Black women in the workplace. Okay, multicultural women standing together. I like this. You see, excellence as a leader. That's what this is. I don't know why it's showing so many Black people these days. Maybe this thing has collected my data and is using things based on me. Okay, we're using multicultural women standing together. Because pictures really helps us tell a story as well, right? And if you already have a story in mind, all you need to do is summarize your story in 1 or 2 sentences, or a few of them, and then put it here, and you'll have an image that is so unique to the story you want to tell. So you see, multicultural women standing together. Just like that, in seconds, you have an image. So if you're thinking of, oh, I don't like posting my own pictures, just put a picture there. I can put Audrey cycling in Lagos. And an AI Audrey will pop up. Let's see. I didn't say whether it's a male or a female, but let's see what pops up. So technology is here to make things easier, and it gives us room to think about other things, and it expands our mind. This is a Microsoft Bing platform. Oh, you see, that's me there, almost looking like me. Guess I was a woman. This is beautiful. I'm keeping this picture for myself. Wow. So I hope I've been able to excite you a bit, right? Are there other questions? Rosina is laughing, right? So let's try excelling as leader. So now let's do something very funny. Excelling as a leader in Kenya, wearing pink suit and red glasses, leafy environment, and waves. So you could learn all these things and you would just be, you know, and it's just things, creating content or posting will be a lot easier for you. And sometimes you could create these things and come up with storytelling. Sometimes it doesn't have to be realistic, right? But there should be lessons learned. It should be something that inspire people or get people to take action. I think that's the thing that needs to be important. Violent couple and angry maid. Hey, who is this, Donald? Is it Donald that just joined us? Donald, should we suspect you? We don't want negativity here. Okay, so this one isn't found. So these are things that we can explore and you could come up with images. You know, if you want to talk less text and more images, this is it right in there. And the beauty of this is that these images are unique to you. They are unique to you. That's one thing I want you to understand about using AI. It expands your creativity, to be honest. And I'm sure you're already excited by seeing this. So please, always once a month, once a week is good, right? Then also on other, you can also repost, right? It doesn't have to be, so it says unsafe image content detected. So you see what we're talking about here. I'm not sure why it's saying this, but it must have detected that something isn't wrong. And this is what we're talking about, responsible AI. So the platform itself, when it sees that you're trying to do things that is negative or it can harm in, unethical or biased to certain group of people, human being, it can flag it out for you as well. Okay. So let's put women excelling as a leader in Kenya. So please, let's not be afraid of technology. Let's explore. The most important thing is that use them for good. Use them for good. Use them to inspire people. Use them to bridge the gap. Use it to meet the marginalized. Use it to meet people who don't have knowledge. Use it to upgrade and upskill yourself. Oh, this is beautiful. Really looks like Kenyan women with high cheekbones. This is amazing. Even me, I'm surprised. Okay. So that's it. Are there any other questions? Chinoso? You two, you're amazed.
I see. Let me tell you. So I've been getting suggestions on my laptop for maybe like a month about using Copilot, and I'm like, please, I don't have energy for anything, additional. So now seeing this, I'm like, oh, so I've been the one, I've just not been able to take advantage of it. So I should take advantage of it. Thank you
Yes, you
so much,
should.
Audrey.
You should.
Yeah,
It's not scary.
Thank you
It's
so
not
much.
scary. It's basically how you use it, and it's how you have a conversation with it. You can say, hi, please, draw me this. I need to put it together, right? So it's how we use it, really. It's not, the truth is that we give a lot of information already. The moment you have an email address and an Android phone or a mobile phone, see, there's nothing you can do again. You have clicked consent, you have clicked confirm. You are not in control again, to be honest. So it's just, how do you now use it to elevate yourself? How do you use it to accelerate your business? How do you use it to advocate for things you're passionate about, right? How do you use it for change? How do you use it for good? So that's just it. So it's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. Even this is just even being, so Copilot now is connecting AI and Bing chat together. So that's just what it is. So it's just Microsoft's name of calling AI, to be honest. Let me put it simply put. right? So the only difference is that any information that is already on your system, it collates it together and gives you what you're looking for. That's just it. All right, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I want you to leave us with a story, right? You know how, just to recap everything you shared about, especially how you a story that highlights how you've been able to develop the mindset that has gotten you here. Because I know that you, of course, you serve as a mentor on different platforms, you speak on different platforms, you're currently working with Microsoft. There's a mindset that you have that many more women need to develop, and some of the men, you know, who are here. But leave us with a story as one of your last, your closing remark.
So one of the things that that I think really got me to where I am is I'm very unrelenting. And it's something that my body and my mind doesn't allow me to do otherwise. And I realized that when I'm not pushing enough, that's when I feel down or I get to my to the bottom of the barrel, let me put it that way, because I'm not doing what I have been designed to do. So self-awareness is important. Sometimes I've had to sit in very horrible bad experiences, consequences of some actions that I've taken, because you can't run away from those things. They chase you, and one day they will just face you like that. So I've had to accept things that have happened to me that may either cause shame or embarrassment and own my own story, right? And that's a different ballgame entirely. So every bad thing that has happened to us has not happened to us to beat us down. It has happened to us to accelerate us forward. But sometimes we stay in very sad situation for too long. And for somebody like me, as beat up as I am, I have my days. Sometimes I'm really, really down. I have my days that I would not even come out of my house. I do have those days. But sometimes we need those days so that we can shine when we come out in the sunlight. We need those days. And for me, one of the biggest thing was when I am down, I try to find somebody that I trust. Trusting was one difficult thing for me. And when I've built trust with people, oh my God, it's amazing. That sometimes I'm amazed the kind of things they do and how my friends are there for me, you know. And one of the things that has also helped me is, I think is now at this age, I'm beginning to connect more with my peers. One of the things that really helped me is I used to connect more with older people because I grew up with a lot of older people in my environment as a child, you know. So I tell people I'm living life backwards. So I was an adult as a child, and as I'm growing older, I'm more playful, I'm more relaxed, I don't mind about many things, you know. I'm more lighthearted, I'm more open, I tell my story, you know, which in the other way, as people grow older, they're more closed. So I'm going the other way around. So I never really used to be able to connect with my peers, and it's now I'm doing that, and I think I like the way it's happening, like when I met Chino and so many other people, you know, in there. So working with people who were older than me also helped me, because I now realized that I was a lot more mature than myself at the time, and they helped me accelerate to see beyond. But I also know I had a fighting spirit, right? For everything I'm doing, I really want to do it well on a practical sense now. Anywhere I go, I always leave a mark. And that's not because I want to leave a mark. It's just a work ethic that I've developed to make sure that anything I start, I finish. If I can't finish it, I don't start it. I don't start it. And I think that is one of the principles that we are fighting in this day and age, because everything is now online. So there's basically a beginning and an end of almost everything. And you can see it. If you're taking an online course, there's a beginning for it to the end. If you're going for a mentorship, there's a program, there's a beginning as an end. If you're taking a course, right, you're going on training, there's a beginning and an end. Gone are those days where sometimes you're going to school, the school don't used to end, and 5 years or 2. So many things have been cut short now that there's beginning and end to it. So we need to practice staying the course, beginning to end. If you're starting a project, what is that planning going to look like? Where is it going to end? Another thing that has been miraculous in my life, I like to always share it, is something I use, a tool called the Year Planner. I don't know if I still have it here. It's called the Year Compass. And I started using it in 2019. Yeah. and a mentor of mine shared it with me, and it has been miraculous. This is what it looks like. Oh, you can't see this. I have to remove my background, but I'm going to share the link with you. It's a year planner that helps you reflect about your past year and helps you plan for your next year. And it has been miraculous. Simple things like when in my apartment I didn't have a microwave, I put down I need to buy a microwave this year. Microwave showed up in my house without me paying for it. It manifested because what it makes you do, it makes you think through it. So, so maybe we could do a session where we can go through, because that's a real activity and it takes maybe about 4 to 5 hours to go through, to be honest. So it takes you about a month to really reflect it. I haven't done it this year because I'm a bit distracted, but I'm eventually going to do it. That's something that has guided me. Everything I put, it helps you document your biggest dreams. There's a page that talks about forgiveness. There's a page that talks about who have you helped this year. There's a page that talks about who has helped you this year. It gets you thinking. Like if you can't fill that page in a month's time, then it means you're not honest with yourself. That is something that has really, really, really helped me through. So that planning, documenting, people that are more experienced, which is your mentorship, is very important. Young people can mentor you too, please. It's not only people that are older than you. Please, they have a lot of value to add. In fact, I'm realizing my peers, when they're talking to me, they're speaking Gen Z. I'm like, what is it? Oh, say, sorry, I'm speaking Gen Z. I say, now, wow, what's going on? I need to have more Gen Z friends and mentors, So please, don't undermine what anybody can bring to the table. Then another thing I do, I'm a vast reader. When I say I'm a vast reader, I don't like novels. I don't read novels. I like audiobooks. I listen to a lot of audiobooks, and I'm very selective. But what do I mean? I go on LinkedIn and I go on Harvard Business Review, WEF, World Economic Forums, research that have been published. Those things are very short. 5 paragraphs. You are brilliant already. When you're having a conversation and networking, people think you are so brilliant. Oh my God, where did you get that information? And you're quoting data and statistics because they are real. There's reference. You can point where you got it from. Remember what I talked about data. You can point where you talked it from. And they have been summarized in a way that people can talk about it. That's the essence why they make it in public, right? So those are platforms that I go to. The Economics, Forbes, quite a number of them that do a lot of that, post a lot of research. I'll just tell you, especially on Instagram, once you say click the research or the places in the bio, it's not more than 5 paragraphs. It's never long. Nobody does long thing again, except it's a proper research, right? Those are the ways I keep up and I get to know a lot about many things. And from there, then I do a lot of podcasts. Oh gosh, I'm a podcast addict. And in podcasts, it will refer you to research, it will refer you to books, it will refer you to people, especially if you're listening to podcasts within your sector. So when you're there, if you listen to one podcast, you hear, a person has mentioned this book, I'm going to look for this book, I'll read it. You understand? Or even in movies, if you pay attention, they make reference to other movies, other books, other content. Use that as a reference to say, if this person is mentioning it in this context, it must be interesting to me. How do I go there? Take that difficult step. It's very, very, very important. So those are the things that I do. I don't make it as serious as anything. I try to make it fun for me because you can't learn. Play is part of learning. That's what I've come to realize. I used to be so serious. Like to even smile, I had to start learning how to smile. It used to be that bad. People used to say this girl that is always frowning, yeah, it's snobber, yeah, this. I had to start learning how to smile, how to be, and all those things. But it's when I started doing things, and that's when I realized that you have to do things that you love. You have to do things that make you happy. Like the other lady was talking about. We were not brought to this life to suffer. That's not what God created us for. I tell you the truth. I know that in my heart. Yes, you have challenges. Challenges accelerate you to learn, to move forward. But you were not designed to be in a dark place for so long. We're not. And if you look at my first slide, you find my logo there called Save the Cervix, and I advocate for cervical cancer. And one of the things I talk about is we carry so much pain. Society makes us carry so much pain from being a mother, from mothering for children, for being there for your husband, or being the label of poverty, or being the label of difficulty. That's not, we are designed to blossom. We're designed to be beautiful. We're designed to be bright. So if you're not doing anything that is making your heart light or happy, you are in the wrong place with the wrong person. I believe that in my heart. So anybody, like when people come to you and they say, oh, I'm in a relationship, or this person, the first question I ask you, are you happy? No. So what are you going to do about it? You have to make a decision. Decision doesn't have to always make you happy. You have to make very bad, not bad, difficult decision that will accelerate you to the next step. Decisions are not always easy to make. They are not. And I want women to understand that decision is easy to make, then it means that you have been having that insight for so long and you refuse to listen. But it's always very difficult. And nothing good comes easy. Nothing, no matter how simple it is. Nothing good. You might enjoy it, but even your body might be exhausting and you keep going, right? Sometimes I use my cycling as that. When you cycle, you go up and down the hills. But when you climb and suffer, and someone like me, I always cry when I'm climbing the hill because I don't have the strength. My body is not built for it. But when we're now coming down the slope, oh my God, that's the best experience ever. The wind, the breeze is, you're not even using the bike is just going on its own. You just maintain your balance. That's the way life is. But women should stop accepting hardship, difficulty, the lowest hanging fruit, the alternative. Oh, because you're the woman in the room, you should do this. We should stop. In fact, if you keep doing all those things, you won't become a leader, to be honest. You will always be looking like the assistant, the deputy, You take the front, demand for what you want, advocate for yourself. When you go to the hospital, say what is doing you and demand for explanation. Why are you giving me this medication? If I take this medication, what side effect will it do to me? How will I get rid of this side effect? How long will this side effect be? Oh, I'm having this other issue. How do I address it? If you don't speak up, things will come after you like you'll never ever know. And people will make you accept the situation. Especially in the religious environment, we're used to that. God did not bring us to suffer. If you have challenges, it's to take you to the next level. That's what challenges are for. That's what dark days are for, is to open a new chapter. It is not to keep you under a level. So I'll stop there.
So good, so good. Thank you so much. And I believe that we can actually, so that bomb that you put it's so good, like so good. So I want to take, Tina, please share the feedback form in the chat, but I want to take a live feedback, just like we took for the last session, right? I believe that this has been so wholesome, and I don't think there was a better person to take this session than you, Audrey, right? And I must say thank you for being so real. So I'm going to take a feedback from Bukumi. Bukumi, I want to hear your thoughts from everything that Audrey has shared, so that she knows that she actually shared insights that resonates with you. So please go ahead and share your thoughts, the insights you've gotten from her session, and what you're going to take with you as you leave here today. All right? Bukumi, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you so much, Sharon. I think one thing that stood out is that we should not be scared of using technology to our own advantage, because in the real sense, it actually makes work easier. Longer the days where you want to prepare a slide and you're using 2 days, like it's so easy now, and we have to key into it. And then you also talked about how to show up both in the online space and then in the physical space, mentorship, and so much more. So I think what I'm going to be doing now, I'm going to hone technology. Yes, I would use it to my benefit as much as I can. And I would also learn storytelling, because I don't know I think it's something that you also said that we can learn. Yeah, so I think that's something that I would also do. Yeah, thank you once again.
Thank you so much for sharing your feedback. Thank you. Yeah, so I mean, that's us done today. Asme has to take her kid to the hospital. She has an emergency, so we can't take her session. So we're supposed to, and thankfully, Audrey has so much to share with us. I've written notes. Don't settle for status quo. Nothing good comes easy. Those are some of the things that she said. And another thing she really talked about, you have to be an avid reader, right? I don't like to read. Reading is not for me. It doesn't work. If you're going to, if you're going to accelerate your progress and grow your competence as a female leader, you have to be an avid reader. She shared some quick ways you can read the platforms you can read on an article here, read autobiographies of other people, listen to podcasts, and then even watch movies that educate you, not the ones that you just sit down for hours and hours. It's not adding anything to you, right? But we have to go on that process of continuous, learning, unlearning, because she talks about unlearning trauma as well. Yes, there's so much work to be done, but Audrey I feel like this was a nice cap, for today's session, and it has really been good for me. I hope that it has been good for you. So please take time. Yeah, okay, yes, getpocket.com/home. She has put a resource there to help you to keep materials, right? So you can take that. And that yearly planner that you were speaking about, Audrey, myself and my husband, we sat down with it right at the beginning of this year, answering the question. I'm not joking, answering the questions. What are you grateful for? What were you grateful for last year? What are you going to do? It was so good. And I advise everyone. I've pushed it out, sometimes to my community to sit down with it, because if you don't plan your life, you just live anyhow. You just live anyhow. So planning is important. Look at resources in the chat. Zina, please help pick it up, and then we'll share it in the email that will go out after now. So this is us done for today. I really want to say thank you to Audrey, thank you to Rani as well, who stayed to the end. Thank you to Dr. Sharon, who had to go in for another training, and to you who has been here. Can you leave a feedback for us, right? Lucy, leave a feedback. Please, let's hear from you. Feedback. I want to read your feedback before we go from today's session. I want to read your feedback. Maureen, can I read your feedback? Oluchi, can I read your feedback? People have been joining in and out. There was a lady called Preeti who started with us. But let me read your feedback before. Yes, exactly. The yearcompass.com and the e-copy and print version. Look at resources that Audrey just sent. So what I'm going to do today, I'm going to go and just figure out how to work on Copilot, because I've just been getting this notification on my laptop. So I'm going to go back and figure out how to work with it. And I'm sure that will help me with creating all my presentations and make my work easier. So thank you once again, everyone. I'm waiting for your one feedback before we close out. One feedback. Where are you, ladies? Okay, you're filling the form, right? You're filling the feedback form. This has been motivating and inspiring so far. I'm feeling pumped. That's what P says. And I love what Maureen said. Maureen said that this was not a regular webinar. It was just really real, raw, and unfiltered. And that's what we're gunning for, to have a raw conversation and to hit the nail on the head. I don't know about Donald, who told us to put a violent couple and angry maid. That's not us here, right? But it was a really, that's not us here at all, but it was a really good conversation. And I'm thankful for all of our speakers who joined us today. So yes, Audrey, they're saying thank you for all the resources, and please make good use of it to start and finish. Like she said, don't start and leave it halfway. Start and finish and keep up with it. So thank you, everyone. Wishing you an amazing Saturday. Honestly, yes, it has been so good. Transformational, gems upon gems. Absolutely. It was truly unfiltered and authentic. That's what we're gunning for, unfiltered and authentic. And I'm really glad that we're able to achieve that. So thank you again for joining today's session. We will send you all the resources that Audrey has sent. We'll send it to your email. And please just look out for our feedback form. If you haven't filled it, please fill it for us. We want to know how we did with the conversation. And then also we'll put the recording on YouTube. I've sent you the link, because I think that it's good to sometimes go back to these conversations and hear and learn again, the things that you heard today. So thank you, everyone. This is goodbye from me. Have a fantastic day and enjoy your weekend. Thank you, Rani. Blessings. Sending you lots of hugs and love. Thank you, Audrey. Blessings as well.
Bye.
All righty. Bye, everyone.